A very good morning, everyone. We extend a warm welcome to all our delegates and dignitaries who have joined from across the globe to this fifth international conference of IMHRC, which is being hosted in collaboration with Shia PG College. Uh, to begin this session of today's, we have the first speaker, an distinguished professional, and who has been an alumni of this prestigious institution, that is the Shia PG College itself. Uh, Talking about Dr. Anshul Tiwari, he has a PhD in bioinformatics and PhD, and also been associated with the Harvard Medical School for certain projects. He has been also backed with MSc in bioinformatics, and his career spans for more than 14 years of experience in the drug designing, biological web, and database management. And he has been an proven expertise in small RNA sequencing analysis, drug designing, and providing 3D structure and analysis support and biological contextualization of significant proteins and phytochemicals. Without wasting much time, sir is here, and we extend a warm welcome from the organizing committee as well. Over to you, sir.
Mm, Thank you, Dr. Sajid, for my nice introduction. So, good morning, India, and Honorable Principal Sir, CFBG College, Dr. Bakri Sir, chairpersons, esteemed faculty members, and Dr. Sajid Kazmi, with the organizers, and the fellow scholars and the researchers. So, as I stand here today on the familiar ground of my alma mater, I can't help but feel a profound sense of nostalgia and gratitude. So it's been a remarkable journey since my days as an undergraduate students here, and returning as at this conference as a speaker is both an honor and privilege for me. And these institutions hold a special place in my heart, for it's where I laid the foundation for my academic and professional result pursuits. And today I have the opportunity to share my knowledge and experiences with fellows, scholars, and researchers, just as my mentors once did for me. So, as I prepare to deliver my talk, I'm reminded of the importance of the collaboration, innovation, and the pursuit of the knowledge. So, let's use this moment to engage in meaningful discussions, to challenge each other's ideas, and to inspire the next generations of thinkers who will carry the torch forward. And together, let's make this conference a platform for transformative ideas and lasting connections. So, I'm not very much familiar. So, even though I'm working in the area of neurobiology, so neuroinformatics, so but I'm little bit far away, like the 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 theme of the conference, but I'm working in the area of Alzheimer and the drug repurposing for the neurological disorder. So I thought like I have to explain few things regarding the current scenario in this particular area. So we discussed with Dr. Sajid. So the topic of my talk is like leveraging artificial intelligence in drug repurposing, a paradigm shift in drug discovery, which is like so nowadays after the launching of the Chat GPT, so artificial intelligence is like a hot topic right now. So the first thing, like everybody knows about the drug and about the discovery. So I'm just going to deliver a brief introduction about the drug discovery. So the drug discovery is the first stage of the drug development flow that pinpoints new substances with a strong potential to fight a targeted disease. And the study involves numerous tests in the laboratories and on animals long before human trials. So here is like the long process of the drug discovery from the conventional labs. These are the steps like target identification, hit identification, which itself it's a very big topic for the discussion and for the talk, like for 1 month topic or like that. But here I'm just trying to give a brief like the flow of the drug discovery process from the conventional methods. So it's like the hit identification, then hit to lead selection, lead optimization, then preclinical research, and the clinical trials. So in the last stage, like 1 in 25 drug candidates selected like for the clinical trial, and it's like only 10 of 1,000 molecules is screened at the hit identification stage with the hit clinical trial. So it's a very time-taking process, like more than 10 years or the 12 years process from the conventional techniques for the drug discovery. Then here is like the timeline of the drug development process. So the 5 to 6 year involved in the in vivo or in vitro study about the drug discovery, then the clinical trial phases in which like the phase 1, phase 2, and the phase 3. Like in the phase 1 few volunteers are required, then in the it's about 3 to 6 months, and then in the phase 2 hundreds of the volunteers required for 1 to 2 years, and in the phase 3 thousand of the volunteers required for 1 to 4 years, and it takes like 6 to 7 years. And then drug review, FDA approval, post-market monitoring, etc., like the administrative things for any drug development and for any new drug. So here, most of the companies, scientists, and the researchers, they thought like if they start to repurpose the drug, then it will be more like less time consuming, less money, will like they can spend not like the less money for the repurposing of the new drug. So they coined the new term like in the area of the repurpose, like the drug. It's a repurposing. But in the general language, the repurposing we are doing like the in the, our daily life. You can see here like the boots they are using for like the flowering, like that's repurpose. The actual use of the boot is the different, but now they are using for the plantation or like that. Similarly, like the trucks, they are for the roads, but they are using on the railway track. The car, like the small trucks, the big tire. Nowadays, the pupils they are using for like the kids play area or like that. The bicycle for the flowering, but the actual user is the different. So they are like the repurposed. So the term is like the repurposing. It's like for the drug too. So what is the drug repurposing here? So the drug repurposing, the because I'm choosing this topic here because it's hot topic right now. Because due to the COVID and other things, even though for the COVID right now there is a repurposed drug for the COVID too, like it's by like it's from the Pfizer, it's Paxlovid, it's FDA approved in the United States, so they are giving the person those are like having comorbidities. If they've got infected by the COVID from the fifth days of the COVID, they are providing like the Paxlovid. So what is the drug repurpose? So at the most basic level, drug repurposing can be linked to recycling. You can see like the first drug is for somewhat symptoms or like the for another disease, the actual use of the disease like the different, but they are using after the clinical trial for the different drug. So it's a time cutting, money cutting, and it's safe for the persons because it's already approved drug. So there is two types of the strategies for the drug repurposing. I am not going very deep as I'm already aware because here the audience is not from the core of the bioinformatics or like the research. So the strategy of the drug repurposing is basically two types. One is like the on target. So if we have any drug with the known target. Then we have like the known therapeutic indication, new therapeutic indication, and then repositioning or repurposing of the drug. The another one is like the off target, which is like the drug, known target, and the new target. Here is like the two fragmentation. And then the known targets used for the known therapeutic indication, new target used for the new therapeutic indication. Then we start the repositioning. So these are the main two types of the strategies for the drug repurposing. Here are few examples, like not few, many examples of the repositions drug. They are approved for, and some are like the investigational. So some here I have highlighted, some are here like the aspirin. So the original indication was the aspirin. When they approved it, it was like the pain and the inflammation. But right now it's used for the cardiovascular disorders like the antiplatelet like that, and in the prostate cancer. So the status of the development, it's already developed, and for the prostate cancer, it's the clinical trial is ongoing, so it's under development. The similar drug, metformin, which is like the very common drug for the type 2 diabetes patient, like the frontline drug. If anyone diagnosed with the type 2 diabetes, the doctor first they describe the metformin, which is like the for type 2 diabetes. So the original indication is type 2 diabetes here, but now it's uses for like the breast and the colon cancer, also for the cardiovascular disorders, and the trials are in like the undergoing. Another one is like the very known drug is like the sildenafil, which is like the PDE inhibitor, which is the common name is like the Viagra, which is like when the they discovered this drug or approved the drug, it was for the angina pectoris or like the for pulmonary arterial hypertension. But the another use or like the repurpose is for now it's like the erectile dysfunction, which is already approved. The another valsartan drug, which is like the anti-hypertensive drug, which was like for the hypertension and for the heart attack. But right now they are developed it for Alzheimer disease patients. So it's already developed. So, but the another, so these things are happened like the with the conventional method or for with the few methods. But the title of my talk is like the artificial intelligence. So like how artificial intelligence is involved in like to in like the drug development, the new drug development, and the drug repurposing process. So the first question is, what is the artificial intelligence? So everybody right now they are using like the mobile phone, everything. So it's like very common. So artificial intelligence is the science of making machines that can think like humans. So the main areas of the artificial intelligence is machine learning, which uses like the sample data to train the computer programs to recognize the pattern based on the algorithm, like your iPhone, Siri, Amazon Alexa, Google Voice, and everything. They are on the machine learning. They are artificial intelligence based method. And then one is like the neural networks, which is like the computer system designed to imitate the neurons in a brain, like the neural networks for the big programming skills for the IT purpose. Another one is like the natural language processing. So its ability to understand the speech as well as understand the and analyze documents. So the NLP is very important right now in the clinical aspects, because most of the big hospitals, big countries, they are using electronic health record of the patient by, so they developed by like the natural language processing. Another one is like the robotics. So every day you find in the news like the one robot is doing like the this robotic surgery, brain robotic surgery, neurological surgery, all like that. So it's like the machines that can assist people without actual human involvement. So artificial we are using on our daily life, like that artificial intelligence in our mobile. Like if you are talking about like the anything, and if you are scrolling the social media side like the Facebook, if you are talking any place like I have to go to London, or I have to go to like the Paris or like that, and suddenly in the Facebook page, like it's automatically appears on our pages like the trips.com or journey.com, like this kind of the website, they advertise their things to go to the London or the Germany like that. So it's kind of artificial intelligence in your phone, and it recognizes from your voice, and then it started to give you like a customized advertisement for your own choice. So these things are like the artificial intelligence. And similarly, the artificial intelligence is being used into the drug development and drug repurposing process. On which area we can apply the artificial intelligence? Like the first one is like the for the target identification, as it's the first step for the drug development. Then molecular simulations, prediction of drug properties, like whether the drug is toxicity, molecular weight, everything of the any molecule or the drug. De novo drug design, new formula design, or like that. The candidate drug prioritization with the help of like the machine learning and all the things, and the synthesis, pathway generation, and so here these are like the top things about the drug design in the artificial intelligence. Those persons like they are in the meeting, they are involved in this area, they know like there is a plenty of the things we can do or we can handle with the help of artificial intelligence in the area of like the drug repurposing and the drug designing. So here is like the steps involved, like the drug designing steps and the involved in the discovery of the drug, which are like there is a multiple databases available nowadays, they are like peptide synthesis, small molecule design, and de novo drug design databases, then identification of drug doses and drug delivery and the effectiveness, then the classification between active and inactive ligands monitoring. So these are all the steps where we can use like the even though we are using like the artificial intelligence in our daily work or daily research work. So you can see here like the specified things for the AI, like the deep learning, meta learning, generative adversarial networks, and reinforcement learning, support vector machine. So these are the IT, like the computational science related terminology we are using into the drug discovery area. So, basically here I have highlighted like the machine learning approach, because machine learning is very important from the area of artificial intelligence. So which is like involved in the drug repurposing. So you can see here like these are the gene, drug, or disease related different databases like the Geo, Drug Bank, CAKE, PubChem, CMAP, and PharmKV. Similarly, these are like the machine learning computational repurposing approaches by which you can these are the already developed algorithm by which you can find the suitable molecule or like the pathways or the targets for the drug you want to repurpose, and then you can do the validation based on the machine learning approaches like the knowledge based activity. So these are like the knowledge based or the activity based. So in silico is like the things those are happen into the computer environment. So it's in silico like the molecular docking, transcriptional signatures, network analysis, and the similarity analysis. Another hand, like the validation of the drug, you want to repurpose like the in silico analysis by the artificial intelligence. Then you have to do finally like the in vitro analysis and like the in vivo analysis, then the clinical trials. But you can cut the time like more than 4 or 6 years by the help of like the AI, which we used into the conventional type of the drug discovery process. So here is like I'm highlighting the cases in the drug discovery. So 28% involvement of the AI into the target identification, the drug purpose or like the drug discovery, 7% involvement in the preclinical studies, 17% uses in the drug repurposing, 8% into the de novo drug design, and the 40% involvement in the molecular library screening, which like usually in the term of the bioinformatics, we says like the virtual screening of the molecule. Like so we just screen like more than 1,000 and 1,200 or 12,000 or in the million the molecules, and then we find out like the suitable molecule with the help of the AI to develop the to develop the particular molecule in the form of the drug or like that for further steps. So these steps are involved with the help of AI use cases. So here is the real example on which we are working here in the United States in the Vanderbilt University. So the latest paper is available in the research square from our group. So we are leveraging like the generative AI to prioritize the drug repurposing candidates. So like the title is like the validating and identified candidates for Alzheimer disease in real world clinical data sets. So here we are trying to find out the drug which is already available in the market, whether it's from like the hypertensive group drugs or like the type 2 diabetes drug or any like the autoimmune disease related drugs. So we have like the large information about the patient, which say like the electronic health record or electronic medical record of the patient, by which we can find out like the which drug is more involved or like the more effective into to decrease the chances of gradually decrease the chances of Alzheimer disease or any other disorder. Like here, I can show you the recent uh, work I'm going to present in next week into the American Society of Human Genetic Conference into the Washington DC. So here I try to find out like the telmisartan, which is like the associated telmisartan is like the frontline drug for the hypertension, very common drug, and we are trying to find out whether its association with the lowering the incidence of the type 2 diabetes into the electronic health record. So you can see, so we did some genetic work, like we're trying to find out like the genetic loci, those are in associated with the type 2 diabetes. Then further like the different databases like the so drug repurposing candidate, then we are trying to get the data from like the Vanderbilt University Medical Center electronic health record, and then we're trying to generate like the cohort for like the control and like the affected population. And then we have if we find like the telmisartan is the better drug than the other hypertensive drugs to lowering the incidence of type 2 diabetes into the hypertension patient. So as the here I'm trying to discuss about the Alzheimer, the association between the hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and the Alzheimer disease. Then Alzheimer is disease associated, like it's ADRD, Alzheimer disease related dementia. So these are like the very closely or genetically associated disorders. So the main cause of the Alzheimer disease, like the comorbidities for the Alzheimer disease, are type 2 diabetes and the hypertension. Type 2 diabetes is very important. So if we care or like the control the type 2 diabetes in the younger age, then there is a less chance to get the type Alzheimer disease into the late stage of our age. So here we are trying to find out the one drug which can control like the our hypertension, then type 2 diabetes, then Alzheimer disease. Also, there is a lot of research going on to handle the Alzheimer disease related psychological disorder, like the neuropsychic disorder, which happens in the late stage of the Alzheimer disease, like the hallucination and other disorder like the cognitive dysfunction and like this kind of the things happen in the it's a very clinical terminology. So the most of the researchers they are trying to find out the because neuropsychic disorder they already find the genetic association between the neuropsychic disorder and the Alzheimer, between the type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and the neuropsychic disorder like the depression and all the things. But they are trying to find out the genetic association between Alzheimer disease and the late stage of the after the Alzheimer disease, like the neuropsychic disorder. Why they are happened and what are the connection between Alzheimer and the neuropsychic disorder? Right now, only the symptomatic treatment is available for the Alzheimer patient, those are suffering from the neuropsychic disorder. But the researchers they want to know what are the genetic architecture overlap between the both disorders, because before the Alzheimer disease, neuropsychic disorder is in genetic association is known with the type 2 diabetes and the hypertension. But after the Alzheimer, they are trying to find out the connection between both of the things, like how they can handle it. Right now, there is only symptomatic treatment is available for the neuropsychic disorder and the Alzheimer patient. So it's challenge. It's still a very hot topic right now because the NIH, National Institute of Health, and the National Institute of Aging (NIA) in the United States, they have opened like the hot topic for the grant right now to find out the genetic association between the Alzheimer disorder and the neuropsychic disorder during the Alzheimer or like the late stage of the Alzheimer. Also, some patients they have seen like they have not they are not showing any neuropsychic disorder in the late stage of the Alzheimer during like 80s or 85, because they just coined the term they are resilient for the neuropsychic disorder in the Alzheimer disease. So they are trying to find out the things like why they are happen right now. So ongoing. So here I'm just showing some studies, successful studies in which AI involved for the drug discovery effort. So these are some like the 2 or 3 year old papers. They are already published in the high repute of the journals, like the powerful antibiotic discovered with using AI, prediction of drug efficacy from transcriptional profiles with the deep learning, and the machine learning models for predicting the activity of ACHE and BACE1 dual inhibitors for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, and also accelerating antibiotic discovery through the artificial intelligence. Few are like related with the, even though I have find out, I just find out the latest one. So here is like the AI classifications applied to the neuropsychological trials in normal individuals that predict the progression to the cognitive decline, and artificial intelligence language and neuropsychological measures in the Alzheimer's disease, which is like the hot topic right now. And they are trying to find out like the evaluation of risk of bias in neuroimaging based artificial intelligence model for psychiatric diagnosis. And another one is like in the JAMA, the performance for machine learning algorithm for predicting progression to dementia in the memory clinic patient. So these are the some ongoing research or like the published research in which they are trying to find out the way how like the AI in involved, and they are trying to move involve more AI into the future research for the neurological and neuropsychiatric disorder. So here is like the examples of the drugs that have been explored for repurposing in neuropsychiatric and Alzheimer disease research. So the one drug that's recently they reported like the ketamine, which is like the originally an anesthetic drug, has been investigated for its potential to treat depression and other neuropsychic disorder. And that they just use like the AI driven research used to better understand its mechanism of action. Few antidepressants they are repurposed for like the anxiety disorder of the Alzheimer disease. As I already told you, they are using only symptomatic treatment for the neuropsychic disorder after the Alzheimer disease. Some anti-inflammatory drugs they are exploring the or like explore the potential. Liraglutide, which is originally a medication for the type 2 diabetes, but has been investigated for its potential to reducing the cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease. And AI also played a role to identifying like as a potential purpose drug. Another one is like the aripiprazole, which is like the antipsychotic medication, has been explored for its potential in treating depression, and AI-driven research may have helped in identifying its repurposing candidates. Then another one is like the NAC, which is like the N-acetylcysteine, which is like the medication used in respiratory conditions, and they are using for compulsive disorder and the bipolar disorder. Another one is like the prazosin, which is like the the original use was high blood pressure, treat the high blood pressure, but now it's examined for its potential in treating nightmares associated with post-traumatic stress disorder. Another one is like the Montelukast, which is like the medication for the asthma, but they have considered as a potential treatment for neuropsychiatric conditions like autism spectrum disorder, and AI is also involved in this kind of discovery. So, what are the challenges and limitations of using the AI? Because it's computer-based system. So, the one of the big key challenge is like the availability of the suitable data, because machine learning wants a big data to train it first, then it starts like they're doing the analysis. So AI based approaches typically require a large volume of information for training purposes. So in many cases the amount of the data that is accessible may be limited, or the data may be of low quality or the inconsistent. So data quality is very important in the quantity of the data. Another challenge is like the ethical consideration, since AI based approaches may raise concern about the fairness and the bias. So it's another challenge. Like, for example, if the data used to train an machine learning algorithm which are biased or unrepresentative, the resulting predictions may be inaccurate or the unfair. And the current AI-based approaches are not a substitute for traditional experimental methods, and they cannot replace the expertise and the experience of human researchers. So AI can only provide the predictions based on the available data, and human researchers must then validate and interpret the results. So it's very important step. So the conclusion is like, so so AI has the potential to revolutionize the drug discovery processes and offering improved efficiency and accuracy, but accelerated drug development, drug repurposing, and the capacity for the development of more effective and the personalized treatment. And the successful application of AI in drug discovery and repurposing is dependent on the availability of high quality data and the addressing of the ethical concern and the recognition of the limitations of AI based approaches. So, the growing level of interest and attention from the researchers, so pharmaceutical companies and the regulatory agencies, combined with the potential benefit of AI, which make the an exciting and promising area of research with the potential to transform the drug discovery process. So here is like our group from the India and from the around the globe, from the like United States, Harvard, and like the current employer. So thank you so much, and I'm very thankful to my son to the time for me to present here. And thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, so I would be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable time and knowledge with us. Indeed, it was a very enlightening session for all of us on a very important topic like AI. It is the need of our, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. We are really
Thank you.
grateful to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Would you like me to begin?
So just 1 minute. We are starting. Just give us 1 minute.
Sure.
Very good morning to all the participants and delegates. My name is Divya. I'm clinical psychologist, and I welcome you all in day 2 of our fifth international conference. Moving ahead in today's session, it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, Professor Raza Mir Sir from William Patterson University, United States of America. Sir is Professor of Management at William Patterson University in New Jersey, USA. He has received William Patterson University Award for Outstanding Scholarship in May 2008 and Beta Gamma Sigma Award for Best Teacher, School of Business Administration, Monmouth University in 2001. He is the author, editor of 10 books, the last of which was published on the topic Philosophy and Management Studies, a research overview. Sir would be speaking on the topic Strategic Solutions for Global Economic Equity and Inclusion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rai, and it was a real pleasure to listen to Professor Trivedi. I would like to, yes, I have the option of sharing my screen. I would like to share my screen. I did debate on what my topic would be, and then I thought that I'm speaking to a group of psychologists. I've been speaking at this conference for the past 4 years now, and every time I feel a bit like a gate crasher, because you people are really speaking at the level of individuals. I'm trained as a economist, but your colleague Dr. Sajid Kazmi gives me the command, and I do come. So here I am again. So I thought I would just make certain connections. I do know that we are probably running a little bit late. So what I will do is that I will I'll try to give back about 5-7 minutes. So maybe I will speak, I will time myself, and I will speak for the next maybe, fewer than 20 minutes, and then I will open it up to questions so that we can have some of the time back.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but we have 30 to 35 minutes. You can utilize the whole time.
Oh, okay. All right. That is wonderful. That is
Yes,
great.
sir.
So I was thinking to myself as I was talking to you that what is the linkage between an economist's presentation and a psychologist's preoccupation? And I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about this because I think it is really very important. You folks as psychologists, like I said here, for example, struggle to control the adversarial behavioral impact of technology. In other words, for example, social media, what it does, both at the neurological level and at the personal psychological level. As a professor, I deal with students who are increasingly lonely and isolated, and some of the blame of that, I do not know whether there is a correlation or a causality, but some of that can be put at the new technological arena that we have entered. The thing about the new technological arena is that as economists or as people in business schools, we are always conditioned to think about products. There's this product and there's that product, and what's the difference between the two products, and so on and so forth. Of late, what has happened is that the product is not really as important as the platform. For example, if you have a phone, the brand of your phone is relatively unimportant compared to the operating system that it uses. So if you are using a phone with an Android operating system, then chances are very high that you will do a lot of things that are dictated by the corporation, in this case, Alphabet Corporation, Google, which controls Android. So you will do a lot of purchasing using the Google Play Store. You will, play games using that. You will use your maps and so on and so forth. So those who control the platform really are in a greater position to control the game than those who make individual products. Now, the platforms are being controlled by a few players, and I'll come to that in a couple of slides. Those corporations are so big, and they are they are able to leverage all new ways in which they can make money. And the fact that there might be socially or individually, psychologically adverse effects does not appear to be that much of a concern for them. And therein lies the problem. Also, the problem that the corporations are so big then that individual governments find it very difficult to control them. Of late, there have been 2 or 3 very important legal battles that have been going on. The United States government has essentially filed a case against Google Corporation, that's Alphabet, accusing it of anti-competitive and monopolistic behavior. And likewise, Microsoft Corporation, which was buying up a big video game company called Activision, the company that makes things like Candy Crush and Call of Duty. So they are all why are they spending that kind of money, more than $100 billion, which translates to, I think, what, 8,000, 9,000 crores. Why are they spending this kind of money? Why is Microsoft interested in buying that? They're essentially cutting out the corporation and making sure that they own the platforms from which people either work or play or spend money or utilize services. So if you, as a psychologist, are really concerned about this, you may feel extremely powerless to control the initial conditions that cause that behavior. I said I'll give an example of sports betting, and I'll just speak about it for a few minutes. The Cricket World Cup, for example, is going on right now. And I remember that when we used to follow cricket, at that time, people would bet on a few things like, who won the game and who didn't win the game. In India, gambling was for the most part illegal. And so it was a, illegal operation using bookies and so on and so forth. And then, of course, there was this whole corruption scandals involving cricket. And one of the things they would talk about would be something called spot fixing or spot betting or something like that. And I never really understood how people did that. People would bet on which batsman would get out first or what point in time a 4 would be hit. And I'm like, how do they actually communicate so fast that they can place the bet before the ball is delivered or before the over is completed? Now the game is entirely different. I will give you an example of the United States. And I was concerned about, now no one, by the way, calls it gambling in the United States. They call it sports betting. So I was really concerned that my students, who are essentially people in their early 20s, technically adults, but not really developed enough. So why are they being allowed to bet? But more importantly, what are they betting on? So I went and I asked one of my friends, one of my students, to show me how they do the betting. Now, you would not believe this. And I think that Professor Tiwari also was talking about artificial intelligence. Now, let us say the 5 games are going on simultaneously. You can pick on 2 outcomes from one game, 2 outcomes from another game, and then create 10 outcomes. Who will score how many points, and who will, what would be the margin of, the victory. And you essentially create a package, your own personal package. I am placing the following 5 bets. And you propose that, and there's a machine there. There's some kind of an AI platform which immediately processes that information and offers you a bet. That if you bet $1, and if all 5 of those things happen, they'll give you whatever, $14 back. So these, for want of a better word, these kids, they are, before the games start, they just place a $5 bet. This is a slippery slope that turns an entire generation into gamblers. And this is possible with an app. And of course, a company makes the app. There are a lot of gambling companies, there are a lot of sort of sports betting companies that provide the app, but you access the app using your operating system of your phone. It is entirely seamless. You use your thumbs to place the bet. Now, before you know it, you psychologists, mental health professionals will unfortunately encounter an epidemic of gambling. And we as economists need to make that connection. If we don't make that connection, then we are in a lot of trouble. So I just wanted to flag that as the kind of point I mean, it's really the fundamental point that I want to make, and I'll make it in a couple of different ways, but during the course of this talk. Like I just said, there are huge corporate mergers. And the fact of the matter is that the private sector does not have a point. They are like, because of us, a lot of innovation has happened. And it is very doubtful that a government or governments acting together would have produced those kind of innovations at that kind of scale and at that kind of speed. So they are like, let us do our job. And if in the process we make a lot of money, that's all right. That's all right, because ultimately society benefits, we make money, and it's a win-win situation. But the fact of the matter is that it produces very, very difficult to sustain inequalities in society. Who controls and who doesn't control? And even if you are a small firm who is trying to do innovation, unless you are one of these 7 companies that I have listed here, you find it very, very difficult to get above the water. And these companies are the companies that really control the platforms. Netflix is a platform. Meta is a platform. And while Tesla is really a product company, it is owned by, for the most part, by Elon Musk, who has, as you know, purchased Twitter with his own money. So all these are platform-based companies that are affecting social discourse and mental health issues in ways that we have not even begun to understand. And the one more point that I want to make is that because the corporations in particular are not controllable, then they define their efficiency very differently, right? So their efficiency is really about how much money we make, how many products we create. But if at a macro level, what we are seeing is that an unsustainable burden is being placed on the planet. And, climate change itself produces so many mental health crises, particularly in this part of the world. I'm sure it's the same there too. You feel that you are drowning in plastic and things like that. And actually, it produces all kinds of problems. The circular flow of economy, as defined by these corporations, is like this, that, it's a nice little neat thing that things go in, things go out, everything is sustained and balanced. But the reality is that it's not really circular, because a lot more resources are going in. Many of these resources are things that we really owe to future generations. We're just becoming dangerously efficient in terms of taking things out of the environment. And again, economists need to look at that and work in consultation with psychologists to develop ways to deal with this problem. Now, the competitive landscape, as I mentioned it, and this really affects every profession, is dominated by 3 elements. The first is globalization. And therefore, you make things wherever you like, you sell things wherever you like, you increase your markets. But more importantly, the globalization then produces a form of governance where multinational corporations who are spread out across countries have the advantage. What can the US do? What can India do? What can Europe do? And forget the smaller countries, what can they do to stop these countries is a very important and a difficult challenge. Along with that is all these forms of technology that allow you to produce, transport, communicate, and scale up your operations very quickly. Now, what this leads to is imbalances in justice, and therefore we really need to understand that at the policy level and then deal with the effects of that at the individual level. And that is where economists and psychologists can talk to each other. So I've just produced a very simple graphic of socio-technical change here that, any new technology that comes into the market starts off very slowly. At some point in time, if there is, adoption, then it really increases its trajectory of usage. And then, of course, the mechanisms, the regulatory mechanisms, find it very difficult to catch up to it in this period of accelerated growth. We are increasingly seeing this right now in the case of AI. Simple things like, first of all, students using ChatGPT to cheat on assignments is a big problem for me as a teacher. But more importantly, first of all, what does AI do? It allows you to use it very effectively to solve a lot of organizational problems. So the more you learn it, the more you will like it. The more you like it, the more you will adopt it. And the more you adopt it, then the more its positive and negative effects become very apparent in society. So what we have seen, for example, is that in the larger macroeconomic environment, there are cycles of prosperity, but then let me just go one step down, and here you see it, that every 50 years, people have seen this guy called Kondratiev. He proposed this, that every 50 years, the technology really, really booms, and it produces all kinds of positivities. But then, at some point in time, new technology is coming in, the old technology is not keeping up, and so what we see is the booms and bust cycle. We are right now still at the boom level in the fifth Kondratiev, but at some point in time, people are predicting that, this is exactly what I'm talking about, that the forces of production and the forces of regulation are not in equilibrium right now. As a result of that, we may find ourselves dealing with more problems than we can handle at the planetary level, at the individual level, and also at the economic level. So we really have to be very sure what will happen once all these technologies. We as a society need to understand how to handle these technologies better. Two sets of technologies. I can add a lot of other technologies, transportation and R&D and medical and so on and so forth. But these two technologies, ICTs, they're called, information and communication technologies, are producing a tremendous amount of convergence in our time. That, earlier there was this communication technology, how you talk to each other, how you communicated with each other, how you consumed information. Maybe there was radio and TV and so on and so forth. But there's information technology on the other side, which is the computer side of it, chips. How fast can chips be? How cheap can instruments of technological usage, whether it's a computer or a phone can be. And there's been a convergence between the information and the communication technologies. And so what we are seeing is the rapid emergence of quote unquote ICTs. And those are the ones that are spearheading many of the innovations. At the hardware level, there's an exponential increase in the capacity of microprocessors. So you all know that, the phones that we carry, the smartphones that we carry, have more processing power than the supercomputers of 30 years ago used to have. And we just take that for granted, that there is no limit to this. But there are other physical limits to it, particularly the input elements, all the rare earths and all the sort of manufacturing elements that are needed to produce these instruments. They have a very finite availability. And so we are going to see constraints relating to that in the future. This is just a representational diagram which says that, earlier the world seemed like a very large place. If you were in one part of the world and somebody else was in another part of the world, then of course it was very difficult to communicate. It was very difficult to live in, to imagine yourself, inhabiting the same world. But here I am, in the middle of the night, talking to you in the morning, and we don't even think much about it other than, when do I have to go to bed, that sort of a thing. The fact that technology is enabling it, the fact that we can talk to each other so easily and seamlessly across geographies and also across, disciplines is taken for granted. One does not know how, whether there's a limit to that shrinkage. So it is enabled by a variety of technologies. Here I just talked a little bit about the internet. And of course, in our part of the world, the usage is even growing even faster than other parts of the world. I just want to clarify that, other parts of the world may have per capita usage might be higher, but because Asia started off at a lower base, the growth rate is much higher. So the growth of internet. What we have seen, therefore, however, at the macro level is, first of all, there's a lost linkage between economic performance and financial capital. What does that mean? It means whether a company is doing something, making products, making even profits, is not as important as what is its share price? How is it traded in the market? Are people buying its options and futures? So that this linkage, a few slides ago, I had talked about the 7 companies that are dominating the financial marketplace. So if there's any investment that's coming in, it's going out there. And as a result of that, capitalism promised us that there would be competition, and competition would produce efficiencies and so on and so forth. But now we are slowly seeing these big cartels coming who are pretty much, strongly controlling the ability to move the agenda. And so I think that we need to be ready for this new world. And at the tail end, I would like to say is that, this is something I've been telling my students, that in the end, it's not just about, you as professionals might be talking to your patients. It's not really about the hard skills. You really have to work on developing these soft skills. And I have identified 5 of them. And you can have more, but I think these 5 are very important. Social intelligence, that is the ability to connect to others in deep and direct ways. This cross-cultural competence, That is, don't worry about your own context. Be empathetic and be mindful and be knowledgeable about other people's contexts. And then, but at the same time, your mind should be able to kind of deal with data and understand what it means to have research and how, things connect to each other at a data level. And then, of course, there's new media literacy. We are slowly moving. I mean, it's no longer that whole print media and books and libraries and that sort of thing, right? People are essentially consuming information, knowledge, and even wisdom using very different kinds of uh, modes. And we need to understand that, and we really need to be ready for that. It's not enough to say, no, in our time it was different. Well, these are very real changes, and we need to understand that. And finally, we are constantly being bombarded with information and with data, and we really need to prioritize. We need to work. We need to balance between the production and consumption of knowledge. And in order to help people do that, I think that is where the economists and the psychologists can speak to each other very well. With that, I will end my talk, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your insight and expertise on this important topic. We are really grateful for you for sparing your time. I am expressing my gratitude from on behalf of Sajid as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Any questions, participants? Think so. There are no questions. Thank you. Moving ahead, we have our next speaker, Professor Dr. Gauri Shankar sir, Professor of Clinical Psychology, Department of Psychiatry, NDD, NDDTC, Delhi. Sir has PhD and MPhil in clinical psychology. His field of interest is addiction, psychosocial intervention, cognitive behavior therapy, family therapy, group therapy, and life skills. Sir has total 19 research publications. We welcome you, sir, and over to you.
Thank you, and good morning to all. May I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. My slides are visible?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Have you given me right to share?
Yes, sir. So your screen was visible, but we could not see your PPT.
Okay. Now slides are visible?
No, sir.
No. I'll leave once and then again rejoin. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
And my screen is visible?
So your screen is visible, but we cannot see the PPT.
Okay, slides are visible. Now slides are visible? No.
Sir, you can
Yeah.
share the PPT to us. You
Okay.
can mail it to the email ID, and we will share on your behalf.
हेलो यस
हाँ सर आप चाहें तो व्हाट्सएप कर दें या ईमेल कर दें जो भी कर दें
बस
आपको
कर रहा हूँ 1 मिनट
थैंक यू
Hello, good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Just give us
Yeah.
2 minutes.
So
We are
by the
sharing your
time
PPT.
my slides are ready, so let me thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you. And today I'm going to talk about the basic simple techniques which anyone can use to motivate the uh, persons who are using substances and to understand the basics related to substance use. Some of the techniques are widely used by the clinical psychologists, mental health professionals, and social workers. And so I'll start with my presentation. So we'll see what are the psychosocial interventions can be used in substance abuse management. Next, please. Next. Yeah. So basically, psychosocial interventions are designed to help the client. So by understanding and clarifying their problems. So this is very important. People think counseling means to make the patient understand their problem. That's true. But before that, the counselor has to understand the problem of the patients or the clients. So this is very important. So the focus of the counselor should be on the understanding of the problem of the client rather than to teach him or to preach him. And that part can come later on. But initially, our focus would be on the understanding. So if we try to understand, it will definitely help us in establishing rapport, to show empathy. All these things will be done automatically if our focus is to understand the client. But if our focus is into deliver techniques or a particular type of therapy, then we are basically delivering techniques or therapy, nothing else. So then the psychosocial intervention basically helps us to learn how to reach their goals through meaningful, well-informed choices and to assist in resolving the issues related to patients. And so this to understand the problem. So this is psychosocial intervention is basically related to understanding of the client's problem. So keep this thing in mind. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you can see that the counseling can be given in various settings and by various types of people, various professionals they can give. And not only professionals, the laymen, the priest, the uh, religious people, the leaders, the family members, the friends, they can also give, but to certain extent, not the complete sessions can be given by the family members or friends. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah, so let us see the important characteristics of the counseling. So it must be objective. So there is a less scope of subjectivity. The counselor should be calm and supportive. The counselor should be non-judgmental. We all know that. And the counselor should be genuine. Here, genuine means like the counselor should not try to behave like an actor or actress. He should be in his own sense. And the true self should be used during the counseling session rather than like using very accented language and other ways to impress the client. Those are not advisable in counseling sessions. Next, please. Next, yeah. So there are certain misconceptions about psychosocial interventions. So make it clear that psychosocial interventions are not just talk therapy, though you may find somewhere written in the textbook also it is one type of talk therapy. Though this is delivered through the communication or language, but it is not just talk therapy. It is not preaching. It is not imposing one's own value on the client. If you think drinking alcohol is bad or immoral, but you can't impose such thing on the patient and tell that, this is against the religion or against the society or against your or whatever social norms are there. So then this is counseling is not over involvement with the client. Sometimes counselor think that with the love and affection they can treat the client. No, this is not true. And counseling is basically not argument. You are not trying to prove your point. And counseling is not about making lie or false promises to the client. Like sometimes counselor initially tell the client that yes, we can cure you or we can treat you, you will be completely all right. So such false promises should be avoided. And the counseling is not like business like attitude. Next, please. Yeah, so coming to the specific type of psychosocial intervention. So first one is psychoeducation. And then we can talk about motivation enhancement, and the relapse prevention support group will not cover in this presentation. So basically I'll talk about psychoeducation and motivation enhancement, which can be done by expert psychologists also, and anyone who is interested and have some basic understanding about the psychology of human being. Next, please. Next slide, please. Next, please. Next. So what is psychoeducation? So it is basically a process to provide the client and his caregiver with basic information about the problem and what type of treatment is offered. It also covered about the prognosis and prevention and rehabilitation. The information helps the client and caregiver to understand the symptoms and the nature of the illness, to understand possible course and outcome of the illness, to understand the nature of prescribed medication and the possible side effects. Like medications are very important to manage the withdrawal symptoms or to make the process of quitting painless. Develop strategies to help ensure medication adherence, and understand recovery and importance of establishing a recovery goal. Next, please. Yeah, then when it can be given, so psychoeducation will be given at the beginning of the treatment, just after the assessment, or it can be part of the assessment also. Like during the assessment also, you can give in between the psychoeducation, correct the belief of the patients, or once you complete the assessment, your intervention will start with psychoeducation. It can be given at clinic, it can be given by mental health professionals, counselors, field workers, social workers, and it must be given to patient as well as their family members. Next, please. Yeah, so let us see the elements of the psychoeducation. Generally, we say that we are giving psychoeducation, but being the counselor, sometimes we are not aware what we are delivering. So see, what are the elements? So we must focus on this thing. These components must be delivered during the session. Like we must explain the nature of the illnesses in detail. Even though the symptoms are not there in the patient, we should explain those symptoms. And then treatment modalities, various treatment modalities. Never say that you do not require medication and I can treat you with counseling. And never say you will be treated with only medication, no need to counseling. Because it has been seen in the research, both the treatment modalities are required very much. Then other treatment modalities also supportive treatment, 12 stage physician program, and and certain groups, Alcoholic Anonymous or others, Narcotic Anonymous type. So all treatment modalities should be explained, and their requirement when it is required. So in maximum time, physical or pharmacological treatment is required first with the counseling. Then treatment duration, you must explain about the treatment duration. It's not that it is just 1 month thing or 2 month thing. So you must be very giving factual information about because all addiction problems, all substance use disorders are chronic relapsing illness. So telling them that it is just a matter of few months is telling lie. So explain this thing. This is the illness which is chronic and relapses are very common. Then need for active participation in treatment is very much required. So you highlight this thing, emphasize this thing. If family members as well as patients, they both are actively involved in the treatment. Next, please. So under the nature of the illness, you can explain several things depending upon the substance use. Like for opioids, there are other things, whereas for alcohol, you can use the things related to the substance. Then treatment modalities should also be related to the substance use. Next, please. Next. Yeah, then duration, about the duration also, like for opioids treatment, it is a very, very long duration, whereas for tobacco or other things, it could be less duration, but we do not know. So depending upon the client and his past attempt of abstinence, and you must, as I told, emphasize the active participation in the treatment. Next, please. So psychoeducation can be delivered in individually or in group setting, but it is better to use the family member with the patient also most of the time. Some of the information should be given to family members only. So can be delivered by a counselor, doctor, or even a peer person. So psychoeducation can be given by the friend, by family members also, and delivered before the beginning of the treatment and at periodic intervals to reinforce the messages. So in between the treatment also you have to, like sometimes what happens, patient learn few skills and then forget also, or patient get information but after some time the forgets also. So you have to check this also, and in between that intervention you have to give psychoeducation also. And as I highlighted, it must be given patients as well as to family members. So patient and family members both should need the psychoeducation. So it must be delivered to both. Next, please. Yeah, coming to motivation enhancement therapy. So here basically we focus on the motivating the patient for the treatment. Next, please. So there are certain things related to the motivation. So there are lots of undesirable behavior we are having, like eating junk food, less physical activity, drug use, spending a lot of time in TV and video games, unhealthy diet, not spending time with. So all these are undesirable behavior, and we never focus on such behavior. So changing such behavior is basically require lots of motivation. Next, please. Next. So if we want to achieve certain desirable goal, like if we want to eat healthy only, or if we want to do regular exercise, if we avoid drug use, so all these things are related to understanding and then motivation about the about our behavior. So we want to change the behavior, or we want to remain in the same behavior. Even though we want to change, are we doing enough efforts or putting enough efforts to change the behavior? Next slide, please. Yeah, next, please. So basically motivation is the key to change the behavior. So undesirable behavior can be changed to desirable behavior. Undesirable behaviors are like which we do not want, but which we are keep doing on. For example, procrastination, not doing exercises, lying down on the bed maximum time. And desirable behaviors are doing physical activities and spending time with family members. Next, please. Yeah, so if we want to change our undesirable behavior to desirable behavior, we are having certain stages of motivation. So if we are in pre-contemplation stage, we may not think there is a need to change. Okay, we are in the denial mode. We think everything is fine. For example, the person who is taking or drinking alcohol and having lots of problem related to alcohol use may not think or may not feel that there is a need to change his behavior. Whereas at pre-contemplation stage, the person is ambivalent about the changing, and at preparation stage, patient or we take some steps to change. We plan, we think, okay, from tomorrow or after 1 month, we can start this activity. In action stage, basically, we are doing all those desirable behaviors. And at maintenance stage, we are maintaining those desirable behavior. In case of substance use, in action stage, the person is under treatment, and in maintenance stage, person is not taking substance, he is abstinent. Next. Yeah. So this happens after maintenance stage. Yes, keep it, no issue. After maintenance stage, there is a high possibility, because the nature of the illness is like that, the person may relapse. So once there is a relapse, the person may again go back to any of the three stages, like pre-contemplation, contemplation, or preparation. Next, please. Next. Next, I have explained, so just skip all these slides. Next, please. Next. 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 Yeah. So now let us discuss about the techniques which can enhance our motivation or enhance motivation of the patient. So basically we are discussing about 4 techniques. Next slide, please. Which basically helps us in enhancing motivation of the, next slide, please, of the patients. So there are various techniques to enhance motivation and or therapies. One is called brief intervention. Another one is like motivational interviewing, then motivation enhancement therapy. So under brief intervention, these 5 techniques are 6 techniques are very important. So acronym is FRAMES: feedback, responsibility, advice, menu, empathy, and self-efficacy. So feedback is related to the patient's functioning, or if whatever consequences of the substance use are there in this particular patient, we give feedback to that about that only. Suppose in case of alcohol, if the liver functions are deranged, so we will tell the patient that your liver functions are deranged, your liver is getting damaged. Okay, we do not say the patient that you are taking alcohol, so you may develop you will be developing dementia, you will have cancer, lung cancer, or anything. So not all sorts of information is given to the patient under feedback. Feedback means whatever consequences patient has recognized or patient has told during the history taking, or whatever information we have collected through assessment or investigations, we just give feedback about those things. Under responsibility, we tell the patient that to change or not to change is the responsibility of the patient. The counselor's job is to help the patient if the patient wants to change the behavior. Advice is like counselor generally say that this is harmful for you and you have to quit, and there are certain methods to quit. Menu of options means the client counselor tells the patient that there are various options of treatment, so whatever patients want to take, patient can have. For example, various options means inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, taking just counseling from the counselor, or getting medicine only. Like we all know that empathy is very much required for any type of treatment, and we focus on the improving self-efficacy of the patient. We support the self-efficacy, because most of the time, due to several relapses, patient's self-efficacy becomes very low. So we support it. We tell that you can do it, it's possible. Next slides, please. Next. 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 Yeah. So under motivation enhancement therapy, we again use 4 techniques: feedback, decision balancing, developing discrepancy, and supporting self-efficacy. Feedback and supporting self-efficacy we have already discussed. So let us see the decision balancing. What is decision balancing? So next slide, please. So basically we ask the patient to see the benefits of if the patient is remaining same or changes his behavior or a behavior. Next slide, please. And we also ask the patient to weigh the consequences or cost he has to pay for if the patient remaining same, or patient try to change the behavior. Please change the slide. Yeah, next please. Yeah, so benefits of change vis-a-vis benefits of staying the same. So the patient will compare it with the cost of staying the same vis-a-vis cost of change. So what happens when you ask the patient, what are the benefits of taking a substance? So patient generally will say, no benefits. So you have to help the patient to find out the benefits. It might be helping the patient in reducing the tension, or it gives pleasurable effect, it relaxes the patient. So all these things are benefits of using the substance. Then cost of using the substance, like money loss, psychological loss, physical health loss, damage, or the reputation in the society is damaged. So all these things. So after noting down all the things, you ask the patient which one is more cost or benefits. So let the patient decide. So here the counselor's job is to help the patient to find out or to see the consequences of substance use. You can also say that uh, wise, wise people can behave or do such things which are having more benefits than loss. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is one example of weighing the cost and benefits of the substance use. So this matrix can be applied to any behavior which is undesirable, and you can think upon the benefits and cost you are paying. Next slide, please. Yeah, next technique is developing discrepancy. It is basically like when the person was not using substance, how was he, and what happened after the substance use. So basically, after substance use, patients like lots of consequences, negative consequences are attached with the substance use. So you can say that it's like his dreams, like he wanted to study, but what happens when he started taking substance? Or he wants to remain healthy, but what happens when he started using substance? So now he's not healthy. Earlier his reputation was there in the society, now there is no reputation. Earlier people were using Mr. or G with his name, now they're like pronouncing his name in different way. They have given certain other names. uh, Next slide, please. Next, please. Yeah. So, so here supporting self-efficacy. So these two statements are there. The goal is achievable and you can do it. So here the counselor's job is to help the patient to understand these things, not to tell these statements. Okay, no, you can do it. Rather, the counselor's job is to find out some example from the past. For example, that last time you have quit for a month, it means you have the ability, you can do it. So that way you have to get the examples, explain it to the patient, so it will help the patient in understanding. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I conclude the presentation. Like motivation is the internal desire or drive to change one's behavior. Motivation is the key to change one's behavior. And the motivation is, we all know that, dynamic phenomena, and the therapist or counselor can help the patient or client to change his or her behavior. Behavior change occurs through various stages, and the motivational interview uses various elements like frames, then behavior, then motivation enhancement therapy, motivational interviewing. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, my presentation is over. Thank you. Hope I have finished within the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Uh, Thank you, sir, for giving such a wonderful insight on management of addiction. Sir, we have a question from one of our participants.
Okay. Please read the question.
Yes, sir. Mrilani has asked what we should do primarily to calm hyper undergraduate students.
Okay, so this is I don't think this is directly related to my presentation, but anyway, like we have to, as I started my presentation, counseling doesn't mean you have to teach the client something. Rather, your job is to understand the client. So you have to understand why the undergraduate student is hyper. So once you like talk to the student, you will understand that there might be certain factors, there might be certain events in the environment, there might be certain provocations from the environment he might be getting, or the student might have certain mood related issues. So you have to assess. So after assessment, you can plan intervention accordingly. And sometimes this hyperactivity is due to attention seeking also. So without assessing, you can't advise anyone for doing this or that. So if the case is more explained, then I could tell the so thank you.
Thank you, sir, for answering the question. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight on and answering the question of our participants. We are really grateful that you spared your valuable time and joined us.
Thank you.
Uh, Sir, so there is one more question if you can answer that. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So Rakesh sir has asked, which is better
Yeah.
place for de-addiction, drug de-addiction center or inpatient department of psychiatry?
Okay, I think this is very good question. So in my one of the slide, I have mentioned that the treatment can be delivered at any place. Okay, in one of the slide I have mentioned. So, but the facilities must be there, like the medicines must be there, the counselors must be available, the social workers must be there to manage all these things. And now in most of the medical college, there is separate section for de-addiction, or de-addiction centers are separate from the main hospital sometimes. Like our center, AIMS center, is located in Ghaziabad, whereas main hospital of AIMS is located in Delhi. So it depends upon what type of facilities you want to provide to your client. Like we have very big campus, green campus, so lots of facilities for the patients. Whereas the center in medical colleges, where just one ward is given to for de-addiction, so their patients are not having much facilities. So, but these interventions can be provided at any place. There is no such restrictions. But if the place is having well equipped, it is the best one. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. We have received our blessings from the manager, Shia PG College, Mr. Abbas Murtuza Shamsi sir, and we will be playing his recorded message for 2 minutes since he is traveling and not physically present here.
कॉलेज में आयोजित टीचर्स, रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स एवं इसमें लाभान्वित हो रहे छात्र और छात्राओं का मैं सैयद अब्बास मुर्तजा शमसी शिया डिग्री कॉलेज के मैनेजर के नाते हार्दिक स्वागत अभिनंदन करता हूँ। मैं बहुत ही हम लोगों के लिए गर्व की बात है शिया डिग्री कॉलेज में आयोजित हो रहा है। इसके लिए हमारे प्रोफेसर आगा परवेज नबी साहब और उनकी टीम, डॉक्टर सैयद साजिद काजिम, डॉक्टर मोहम्मद अली, डॉक्टर अमित राय साहब और तमाम जितने भी लोग लगे हुए हैं जो भी आए हुए हैं वो आपकी सेवा में हैं। आप बहुत अच्छे ढंग से जो भी हमारे टीचर्स आए हुए हैं, प्रोफेसर आए हुए हैं, पार्टिसिपेंट आए हुए हैं, रिसर्च स्कॉलर आए हुए हैं, वो सब आप अपने पेपर प्रस्तुत करेंगे और उसके अंदर ये तमाम लोग किसी भी तरह से कि आपकी हर तरह से सेवा में हैं। आपको किसी तरह से हमने वैक्सीनेशन के अंदर पूरी दुनिया में अपना हिंदुस्तान का नाम किया। खुद अपने यहाँ भारत के 140 करोड़ लोगों को उससे लाभान्वित किया गया और लेकिन उसके अलावा पूरी दुनिया में भी कोशिश की गई कि जो ऐसे देशों, गरीब देशों, वहाँ उस वैक्सीन को भेजा जाए। तो आज चाहे मेडिकल क्षेत्र हो, चाहे कोई क्षेत्र भी हो, इस देश में जिस तरह से अभी साउथ पोल पर चंद्रमा पे हमारा विमान उतरा, इससे लगता है कि हम हमारे छात्र, हमारे प्रोफेसर हैं, जो हमारे रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स हैं, वो बड़ी मेहनत कर रहे हैं। हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि इस न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के अंतर्गत अगर कोई कमी हो तो आप द्वारा प्रस्तुत की जाएगी और इस आगे छात्र छात्राओं के समग्र विकास के लिए किस तरह से शिक्षा को और जो है आसान किया जा सके और उसे कम समय में ज्यादा लाभ हो सके, ऐसे पेपर प्रस्तुत होंगे। ये इसी उम्मीद के साथ मैं इस जो आपका ये 5th इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस है उसके कामयाब होने का, उससे छात्र छात्राओं के लाभान्वित होने की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूँ। मैं जानता हूँ कि जो टीचर्स हैं, जो उस्ताद हैं, जो अध्यापक हैं, उनका जो रोल है वो एक समाज के अंदर, एक समाज के निर्माण के लिए, भारतवर्ष के कल्याण के लिए और भारत के प्रत्येक छात्र छात्राओं को पूरी दुनिया के अंदर कंपटीशन करके इस तरह से हम प्रतिस्पर्धा में हम भारत को आगे खड़ा कर सकेंगे, ये आप तमाम लोगों की कोशिश है। इससे छात्र छात्राएं भी लाभान्वित होंगे, आपका भी नाम होगा, इस देश का भी नाम रोशन होगा और इसी उम्मीद के साथ मैं इस 5th इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस की कामयाबी की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Next, we are moving to our symposium. I take this privilege to introduce the chairperson of symposium, Dr. Nadeem Kirmani and Dr. Akanksha Shrivastava. Dr. Kirmani is Associate Professor and Head of Department, Amity Institute of Clinical Psychology, Amity University, Haryana. He is a RCI licensed clinical psychologist with more than 10 years of teaching and professional experience, and has more than 60 publications in national and international journals of repute. We welcome you, sir. Dr. Akanksha Shrivastava is Associate Professor at Jindal School of Psychology and Counseling, OP Jindal Global University. We welcome you, ma'am. The topic of the symposium is Behavioral Addictions in Indian Context, Current Challenges and Recommendation. The presenters are as following: Dr. Manoj Kumar Pandey, Prabha Mishra, Trishla D, and Chitra MB from JSS Medical College, JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research, Mysore, Karnataka. Over to the participants and the chairperson.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are absolutely audible.
Yes, sir, you're
Okay.
audible.
Yeah. So, I think how many presenters we have? 4 presenters, right?
Sir, actually, am I audible?
Yeah, you are, sir. You are
yeah.
audible. Good morning, everyone. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Very good morning, sir. And I am very happy that you are chairing the session.
Thank
And after that conference, we are meeting through the
Online mode.
Online mode. Yes, sir. One of the presenter will not be there, sir, Prabha Mishra, and only 3 presenter will be there. And if we discuss about our, let me share the screen, sir, once I check
sir,
whether
please.
it is.
We have 45 minutes for this symposium, sir. 1 hour or 45 minutes?
Sir, I think 1 hour we have.
Okay.
And it is visible, sir?
Yes. I can see it here.
You can see it here. Okay. Just let me. So we will be talking about the given symposium, and we will start at first. Chitra MB will be talking about the concept of the behavioral addiction and its prevalence in Indian context as well as global context. And after that, Trishala D will be talking about the demographic correlates and patterns and adverse impact of the behavioral addiction. And I think she will take the lifespan approach to discuss about the adverse impact upon it. And after that, I will be talking about the challenges in Indian context and what are the shortcomings as well as the recommendations for policy making as well as the recommendation for enhancing the treatment in different stakeholders and in different platforms. So that will be the order of our presentation, and I would ask Chitra MB kindly start the presentation with the permission of the chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank
Thank you.
you.
By the time she start the presentation, sir, we have decided that 15 minutes, both of them will speak, and the rest 20 minutes I will speak. And we'll have the 10 more minutes for the taking the questions and the discussing the topic.
Done, sir. Done.
Yes. Okay. All right, sir. Chitra, kindly share your slides. Chitra, you are unmute. You unmute yourself and share the slides.
Chitra ma'am, are you hearing Dr. Manoj sir? Now the slides are coming. Yeah.
I think you're able to hear me, sir?
Yeah, Chitra ma'am, we can hear you,
yeah.
and you can please start.
Chitra, put it in slide presentation mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry for the initial glitches. And good morning to everybody. And here we go for the interesting topic about the behavioral addictions on this platform. This is the outline of my presentation is definitions of behavioral addictions, behavioral addiction component model by Griffith, understanding the rising concerns of behavioral addiction and different types, and as well prevalence of behavioral addiction in global and Indian context. So with your permission, Dr. Nadeem and Akansha ma'am, and Dr. Manoj, I'll proceed with the original contents of this particular presentation.
Yes, please.
With this onset of technological revolutions around the world, we see there is a paradigm shift in the addictions made with evolution from the substance abuse to behavioral addiction and its consequences. And when we go to the simple definitions across the different forums and the researcher, behavioral addiction refers to compulsive engagement in rewarding related to behavioral despite the adverse consequences, and it state the similarities between the other addictions like substance abuse in terms of brain mechanisms, craving and relapse. And this is the definition we can refer from the APA. And when we go with the other definitions of behavioral addiction, behavioral addiction is a condition characterized by uncontrollable repetitive pattern of engagement leading to the significant distress and the functional impairment. And in the past two decades, there is a surge in the research and development, the causal factors, the intervention part, and the different types of interventions, different types of behavioral addiction. There is a addictive behavioral model which is compressed from the Dr. Griffith et al., which majorly says 6 basic components which is there in common in all the behavioral addiction. Salience, that is preoccupation or the craving with the whatever addiction he is facing. Mood modification, there will be mood swings. And tolerance, there is an increased urge or frequency of duration or the amount of particular time, a particular addiction behavior to get the same effect. And withdrawal symptoms may be psychological or the physiological effects experienced when the addictive behavior is disconnected, and conflict that can be either personal, interpersonal, academic, I must say here, and even the work related that arise due to the continued engagement with this kind of addictions. And relapse, of course, usually with so many support system and the intervention therapeutic, the relapse is being found in any of this behavioral addiction. And this behavioral addiction is comprising of all these 6 basic components as per the Griffith. And when we go to the different rising concerns about behavioral addiction, it is like it has covered the vast umbrella, starting from the social relationship, mental health, physical health, overall well-being of a person, even affecting the work level, school, and the personal life. So behavioral addiction almost, it has touched upon all aspects of the human life, irrespective of the age, right from the children to adolescent, in the late adulthood, even in the later age-wise also, it is affecting the negatively affecting the overall life of the person. And when we look upon to the behavioral addiction, previously it is only confined to the gambling or the gaming, which is very much clearly involved. It is very much well established as per the DSM-5 criteria. It is included and under the DSM-5 and ICD-11. Apart from that, we could see the other conditions, other addictions like work-related, food addiction, exercise addiction, shopping addiction, which is increasing the increasing trend. And when we look upon all these kind of addiction, maybe internet addiction or social media addiction, gambling addiction, video game addiction, shopping addiction, food addiction, exercise addiction, and pornography or the sexual addiction, what we say, and the work addiction, and the love addiction. These are all the major types of the addiction which I could get the references. And apart from this, we can also see the skin tapping addiction, and so many other is even in the rise in this era of the as era of the technological revolution. And when we used to work in the earlier years, maybe 2 or 3 decades back, especially in the de-addiction center, we used to see, or like there are cases of substance abuse addiction. The substance abuse patients used to come to the de-addiction center, but the trend over the past 2 decades is been changing, and more patients with the behavioral addictions are getting into de-addiction center. They may not have even a name, whether it's a substance abuse de-addiction center or even it's a behavioral addiction. The trend towards patients getting admitted to the de-addiction center, especially because of the negative effects or the problem they are facing with the behavioral addictions, is much more rising in almost all the de-addiction centers across India and the global scenario. And when we look into the prevalence, because of the prevalence increasing, there is a more and more admission. And when we can see this particular, even I have seen this kind of changes in from substance abuse to lot many patients getting admitted to the rehabilitation center or de-addiction center, especially with the social media or the gambling or the gaming disorder affecting their whatever parts of the life is been increasing. And when we see the rising prevalence in worldwide forum and in the Indian context, there is a considerable smartphone addiction is been the most common, that is around 30%, 30.7%, followed by food addiction, that is 21%, and social media addiction being 15.1%, and internet addiction being 10.6%, followed by gambling, shopping addiction, and exercise addiction being around 7%. And this is a data from the meta-analysis in the global scenario. When we look into the another worldwide data, the prevalence is more in the male category of the people, to in the mid-adolescent age to young adult. And Indian data, prevalence up to 11.4% is seen with the gambling and problematic internet usage. When we see the Indian context, and here is another global scenario, prevalence is there. The gambling addiction, the prevalence is always been more from 2005 to 15. It has been in the increasing trend. But if you can observe the shopping addiction, it has been in the increasing trend in the global scenario as well. And a shopping addiction due to maybe whatever the reason, maybe the easy availability of the shopping site, privileges the customer get, even the hypermarket level into the shopping era. Again, due to the easy of the customer end, the shopping might, the buying addiction is been increasing year to year. And here, one of the, again, meta-analysis in the Indian context, if we could see, there is a pool of addictions, behavioral addiction among the college students with a high percentage of addictive use of cell phone being 28.6%, again shopping 22%, general internet addiction, just scrolling the mobile for no reason 20%, television, and there's a significant difference between the behavioral addiction and the dimension of behavioral addiction, the craving, loss of control, and the compulsion. And when we looked into this particular correlations, we are able to assess there is a significant correlation between the eating addiction and the compulsion. Again, of course, shopping addiction with the compulsion. But when it comes to sexual addiction and the cell phone addiction, there is a correlation statistically significant in the craving part as well. So with this kind of Indian setup data and the global scenario, we could see there is a surge year by in the decades by decades in all forms of the behavioral addiction. The two, gambling and the gaming addiction, being already into the well-established forums. It is all, apart from that also, almost all types of addictions are in the increasing trend. And when we look at the reasons behind it, or maybe the factors which are why the youths are almost all age group are getting into this kind of addictions, maybe neurological factors, social psychological factor, social cultural factor, psychological factor, the escapism, loneliness, or the trauma, or whatever it may be. To just the motives behind is being under the study, maybe impressible age, or the most colorful, attractive advertisement, or like to maintain that standard, or the, you know, in the aura in the friend circle, or to cope up with the social pressure, or to hide the whatever internal struggles. One or the other kind of this behavioral addiction is increasing year by year, and there is a definitely interventional and the therapeutic ways to come out of this addiction is definitely essential. And with this highlights, I would like to end this my presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chitra ma'am, for your nice presentation. Now I request the next presenter to please come and present. And we have 15 minutes for the presenter before Dr. Manoj sir will come.
Vishala, you are muted. Good morning, everyone. I'm Trishala from Jesus Medical College. So I'm going to share my slides.
Chitra, you can stop your slide sharing, and it will be helpful for us to share the slides. Yes.
No, Trishala, yeah, please.
Sir, I'm not able to share it, sir.
It was initially
I'll try
coming.
once again. I'll try once again.
Yeah.
Yes.
put it in slide share mode.
Yes, sir.
Just check at the bottom here.
I think the slides are visible.
Yes, slides are visible.
Okay, sir. So I'm taking over by demographics and impact of behavioral addiction in the Indian context. So moving on to first, as Chitra ma'am has already defined everything about behavioral addiction. So these are the few addictions that we can see, that is gaming addiction, internet addiction, food addiction, gambling, and social media addiction. So coming to Indian statistics, India has become the world's second largest smartphone market, that is after China, with staggering 493 million users as of 2021. So in India, behavioral addiction is varying from 2% to 33%. So if we can see this statistics, like even though we are of 493 million users and becoming second largest smartphone market that we are in, we can see in this slide that there are 10 countries that has been represented their behavioral addiction papers that they have been presented, but we cannot see our stand there. So we can see China, Australia, UK, Spain, and everyone. So given this insight, I would like to move on to further slides. So let's see life estimates of substance disorders, which has been already used, and how it is relating with behavioral addictions. So we can see 35 to 63% of substance users are of pathological, they also get into pathological gambling. 23 to 50% of them are getting into kleptomania. Pathological skin picking is 38%. Compulsive sexual behavior is 64%. Internet addiction is 38%. And compulsive buying is 24 to 46%. So, as we saw the substance use disorder, we are going to see other comorbidities. That is, we can see depression with behavior addiction, anxiety, attention deficit disorder in children, social phobia, compulsive features, impulsivity features, as well as narcissistic features. Moving on to demographics, if we can see age, that is in children, we can see prevalence of problematic mobile phone use was found to be 6.3% in the overall population. So in adolescent and young adults, prevalence of 16% of problematic mobile usage can be seen, and 50% of the sample had their own mobile phone or laptop or both. So use of internet is being done either for sex or social networking in the major side. So in the elderly population, if we can see, the prevalence rate of smartphone addiction was found to be 16.3%. All these studies are Indian studies. So just elaborating on the elderly population, we can see that how age-wise we can see the positive smartphone addiction here, where 60 to 65 age people, there are 3 positive and 19 negative. 66 to 70, we can see 17 negative and 5 positive. 70 to 75, we can see 3 out of 9. 76 to 80 years, we can see 2 out of 12. And 81 to 85, we can see 81 to 90, we cannot see that much addiction because I don't think so they are able to use the smartphones. So moving on to the next. Gender. So the prevalence of internet addiction in adolescents was noted to be, just a minute, was noted to be 3.96% in boys and 1.62% in girls. So numerous research have revealed that male gender is risk for internet addiction disorder. This is consistent with studies showing that women use the internet primarily for social contacts, whereas men engage in online gaming, pornography, and other behaviors more indicative of internet addiction disorder. So research revealed that women experience behavioral addiction at a significantly higher rate, which we can see right now comparably. An addiction to social media, Facebook, shopping frequently improves one's perception of oneself. So that's the reason women are getting into this. On the other side, most people who are addicted to gaming and pornography are males. But while sensitivity to punishment can particularly explain why women experience greater rates of food addiction. Coming to the personality, I've just seen very few Indian studies. Studies show that neuroticism, low conscientiousness, and narcissism as personality traits are negatively associated with mental health and positively with addiction. So moving on to impact of behavioral addiction throughout the lifespan, that is children, adolescent, young adults, as well as elderly. In children, we can see central nervous system is going to be affected in very early stages, which is going to be impactful for their growth and development. We can see reduced peer play time, where the screen time is more in age of 1 to 3 years of age, which is very dangerous. So increase the possibility of, there is increase in possibility of developmental delay, and it shows there is reduced physical activity in children, and that is going to be resulted in reduction of cognitive aptitude, language development, inductive reasoning, and prolonged screen time hurts brain development, language, as well as cognitive skills. This was the study done by our Manoj sir. Moving on to adolescent population. So there is a lot of impact, but studies have demonstrated lower brain gray matter density in parts of the left brain. We can see there is an impact on the growth and development. There is sleep deprivation, excessive daytime sleeping, and there is teeth grinding, nightmares. So these are the general one. And recently we have studied in our university, the majority of the adolescents with low emotional regulation tend to have binge watching for 2 to 3 hours. So we can see there is significant correlation between binge watching and emotional eating. And there is also significant correlation between binge watching and trauma, which needs to be studied further. And Prabha Mishra ma'am and team has revealed that internet use levels have a significant impact on CGPA scores, impacting the academic performance in the adolescents and young adults. Moving on to young adults, we can see obesity, visual impairment, insomnia, snoring, apnea, and then job-related problems. And we can also see that internet addiction can also result from compulsive consumption of online pornography due to its accessibility, affordability, and anonymity. And narcissistic features are also reported to be correlated with increased selfie taking behavior and later uploading it on the online social site. This can be generalized to adolescents as well as young adults. So there is no particular studies that have been bifurcated. So it is all showing adolescent and young adults, most of the studies. So moving on to adults, we can see there is a lot of family relationship distortion, marital conflicts, academic problems, job-related problems, which are going to arise because of the partner, children, and bosses are not ready to accept our extreme behaviors that is causing due to behavioral addictions. Moving on to interpersonal impact of the adults, we can see pubbing, where someone is preoccupied with their smartphone during face-to-face communication or focuses on their mobile phone during a conversation instead of paying attention to their own partner while they're having the conversation. So this study, again, it has been done by Manoj sir. So where pubbing is leading to depression, anxiety, stress, we can see lower psychological well-being, relationship problems when they're using excessively. We can also see there is inappropriate, annoying, intensifying frustration during dates. While dating, we are mostly on the mobile phone, which is annoying the partner, which is also creating frustration in the other partner. So, as the study showed that pubbing is leading to less satisfied couples, lower psychological well-being, relationship problems, perceived as inappropriate and annoying, intensifying frustration. So, average use per day that the partner is telling is my partner is using mobile is for about 4.7 hours. So they are spending their leisure time on smartphone, that is 88% of their time. Received complaints from their partners, that is 73% partners are complaining against their partners. So there is a very weak relationship that is being complained by 66% of them. 70% of them show irritation when interrupted by their partner while using their phones. And 90% of them are missing meaningful conversation that is going to be happening or that happen in an intimate relationship or in the relation that they're into. Moving on to elderly, I didn't find much, but I have one study have also done very published yet, but we can see poor quality of life, poor life satisfaction, and reduced communication. So, content in India, behavioral addiction went from 2 to 3%. The impact of behavioral addiction extends to our overall health, relationship, performance, and individuals with BA struggle with emotional and behavioral regulation, impaired relationships, health issues, and reduced performance. So these are my references. Thank you.
Thank you, Trishla,
Thank
for
you,
your
sir.
nice presentation and exposition of your slides. Now, Manoj sir.
Thank you.
Trishala, can you remove the, you have removed the screen sharing, huh? Yes.
Yes, sir.
I hope that the slides are visible, sir.
Yes, sir, they are visible. Yeah.
Yes. Now, my colleagues and both of them. One is the assistant professor in our department, and another is my PhD scholar. They are doing great work in the area of internet addiction, basically to identify the causal and associated factor in Indian context. But they have presented the impact as well as the prevalence as well as the comorbidities of the behavioral addiction in Indian context. I would also be Trisala, you can take the pic also of the slides because it will be necessary for us to documentation
Done, sir.
purpose.
Done,
Yes, yes.
sir.
And now I'll be speaking on the current challenges and further recommendations, considering the data from the worldwide context as well as the Indian context. Yes. Basically, the key highlights of my talk will be the significant aspects of the behavioral addiction, recent development in the treatment of behavioral addiction, challenges in context of our Indian scenario, and noteworthy stories from India. We are doing the things, but still we have to do a lot. And then the recommendation for prevention and management. This will be the highlight of my talk. At first, the significant aspect, I think some of the things have already been presented by them because she has talked about the impact. I will just briefly summarize these things. There are physical complications of the behavioral addiction, like she has also talked about. Even there are initial evidence of the behavioral addiction on the change or effect on the structure and function of the brain. Worldwide context, a lot research has to be done. There is a lack of longitudinal studies and which can show the causal association between the screen time, smartphone addiction, internet addiction, gaming addiction. But researches are being done in the worldwide context. And then if we see here, just I will use the laser pen so that, yes, obesity is one of the things. Cardiovascular disorders, especially hypertension, the major reason can be for that, as they have spoken already, that physical inactivity is increasing when we are spending more and more time on the social media platform or the smartphone or other things. Eye pain and back pain are well documented in worldwide research, and low SDL cholesterol, insulin resistance, and change in the circadian rhythm. That is one of the key factors, especially in the adolescent and emerging adult population, because we have a trend now. I don't think that hardly any of the adolescent and the emerging adult go to the bed without having the cell phone nearby their pillow. And that trend is, changing the circadian rhythm and poor regulation of the stress. And they have talked about the comorbidities. Still, I would like to put some, light upon it. In the third row, in the third column, if we see here, this is the data for the individuals who are found to be addicted with the behavioral addiction, and especially internet and other form of behavioral addiction. We see alcohol use disorder, nicotine use disorder, highly comorbid, depressive disorder, anxiety disorders. And in anxiety disorders, GAD was on the top, and 13% around the individuals are having the specific phobia. And overall, if we see the any other DSM criteria, psychiatric disorders, there is a common, co-occurrence is 74% around. And these data are from topmost journals, which we can say the Q1 in Scopus. Now, this is a great challenge for the clinicians, that the co-occurrence of behavioral addiction, because when I started my research, doing research in this particular area, I got a patient who came to me initially that he's addicted to the online gaming. But when I took the history and started the treatment, gradually I found that the gaming addiction was the secondary prevalent problem. The first was pornography addiction, but that came into the notice very late because of sharing that thing and a lot of other things. So that is one of the challenge for the clinician to screen out all the possible behavioral addiction which are associated. And we are doing the work in this area also. Within few months from now, we will see the indigenous developed tool which assess the different forms of behavioral addiction and developed in India, validated in India, and the tools are in initial stages of the validation, and we will be able to screen out the individuals before starting the treatment, which are the major problematic area. And if we see here, within the given BA, means whatever the BA's behavioral addictions are present here, we see the huge co-occurrence. But the pornography, if we see, it is slightly less. Maybe that the sharing and expression about the pornography addiction can be one of the reason behind it, and that's why I feel that the documentation or the percentage is low here. And if we see, there is a huge comorbidity. Now, recent development in the treatment worldwide, if I talk about, this is a holistic model where we see here the component and intervention possibilities. Basically, this is a model which is more appropriate for the individual and the small group treatment. Now, these all the components which are the mechanism of behavioral addiction, and the treatment approaches deal with these mechanisms so that the behavioral addiction can be, curbed down. Motivational enhancement therapy or skills may be helpful to set the goal with the individual. And many times we see that the individual are free contemplation stage. And even if we talk about the substance addiction, the pre-contemplation stage is very high. And now we are talking about the behavioral addiction, especially the smartphone addiction. Individual will be, I think, in more greater denial mode than the other. Now, if we see acceptance and acceptance-based and mindful approaches and distress tolerance can be working upon the urgency. Urgency is correlated with the impulsivity. Impulsivity is one of the highly associated personality trait with the behavioral addiction across the types of the behavioral addiction. Then cognitive behavioral self-control and working memory training as well as problems solving can be working out the deficit in self-control. And again, the dysregulation has been found worldwide one of the key underlying phenomena behind the behavioral addiction. And similarly, if we talk about the expectation and motives, now currently there are a lot of researches are done worldwide to seek the motives, especially if we see the high quality journals in the internet and behavioral addiction. A lot of research is being done on the motives. And to deal with this, this model suggests that cognitive behavioral expectancy challenge intervention and coping skill training can target this underlying mechanism. Similarly, social deficit is again one of the highly associated underlying mechanism, and taking the things or inputs from the behavioral therapy approach, especially communication skill training and other things, can work upon this mechanism. And compulsivity, again, Behavior therapy approaches, contingency management, stimulus control has been proposed by this model. So far, I think that this is one of the best model proposed by the researcher till now, which are talking about the transdiagnostic phenomena. It is not talking about only one type of the behavioral addiction, rather it has utility for the transdiagnostic phenomena. Now, that was the individual and small group treatment approach. If you see in this slides, it is a ideal shared care model. It is basically for the community perspective, and they have shown the barriers and facilitator. That the approach when we talk about the community intervention, especially education, especially large group mass media campaigns and all, we can reduce the barriers which are shown here in the right side of the this diagram, and we can enhance the facilitator, especially if we talk about the simple timely referral process. That is one of the challenge in Indian mental health setup, and quality of communication, a lot of other things they have. I would not go into detail of it. I think it is visible to the audience. And challenges in context of the India. Now, I talked about what is happening across the world and how the people are, what the people are proposing. Challenge, if we talk about, it is surprising to show. I think one of the presenters already has shown that the scarcity of the consistent data on the behavioral addiction from the India. If we see here, African continent and Southeast region, no prevalence data was found by this research. And if you see the all other part of the country, they have the data. Because I think the reason behind it that we don't have a consistent data, a nationwide data upon behavioral addiction, its prevalence, its other aspects. So that is one of the major area for the researcher to look into in Indian context. And I will provide some recommendation how we can go ahead in the coming slides. Now, another challenge is assessment, challenge in the assessment. Again, we lack the indigenous and standardized and validated tools or the measurements, and lack of unanimously accepted measurement tools in Indian context I'm talking about. And that's why what happens, there is a variable and less reliable data when we talk about the scattered research done by the individuals or some research agencies. Because of these two major lackings in Indian context. And I think we are on the track, and we will provide the indigenous developed tools so that we can help the researcher as well as the clinician to reach to a common consensus about all the factors which are shown here, starting from the prevalence to the treatment outcomes. Now, another challenge that is not specifically limited to the behavioral addiction, but it is also for the treatment of the psychiatric disorders. The stigma, a major role it plays, and that was one of the reasons that the National Mental Health Mission has started long back to provide the psychiatric services to the medical college setup, so that it is not limited to the mental hospitals, to reduce the stigma so that the people can go there and reach, get access the treatment in the general medical health setup. But this stigma, if we talk about the psychiatric disorder, it is and need to be studied in context of the behavioral addiction in Indian context, but may play a key role when we say that, okay, it is addictive behavior. The people may not come out as we expect. Lack of awareness, this is one of the key aspects. And the research I have done since last 1 decade I found that the individuals spend more than or around 2 to 3 hours on average on the smartphone or internet platform. And those individuals who spend more than 3 hours of per day time on these platforms are found to be addicted to the platform. And this indicates the people are not aware about the common signs of the addiction, especially talk about the behavioral addiction context, because we lack the awareness about it. And this is the area where we are working still in comparison to the world wide, the actions. We are still far behind. I will talk about that in later coming slides. Now, this is also one of the major challenge, under-skilled manpower. Why I'm talking about the under-skilled manpower, non-pharmacological methods, like if we talk about the alcohol dependence and stress, anxiety, and depression, the clinicians are trained. They do have a framework in their mind how to treat these disorders. But the behavioral addiction, we lack such kind of, common treatment approaches. The reason behind it is that the training in the treatment of the behavioral addictions specifically are not focused into the treatment, the training providing institutions across the India, and under-equipped trainers as well, as compared to other psychiatric conditions. If we see, the trainers are not also well equipped, especially if we talk about to deal with the behavioral addiction. But if we talk about the major initiative worldwide, even I cannot say that we are far behind from the other countries of the world, but there are some major initiative worldwide had done by like South Korean countries. They run a camp where, I am not able to see my slide. Let me yes. They run the camp come rehabilitation setup. They are doing it very rigorously. And in UK, the National Health System, they have the Center for the Gaming Addiction, where focused treatment is being given. They have open it in the different districts of their country. Now, still we are bit behind than the growth in this area, but we have also success stories from India. This is Behavior Resource Hub. This is one of the initiative done by the AIMS New Delhi, and which was funded by the WHO. And you can see that what are the component of this initiative that they have come into. Another thing, the SHUT clinic, which is well known across the India, and which is in NIMHANS. We need such kind of other setups specifically focusing upon the behavioral addictions across the India. These are the two major success stories, and a lot yet to come. Now, government level initiative that the government of India, especially the Ministry of Education, has issued the advisory for the parent and teachers on demerits of online games. Few do's and don'ts of BA they have proposed, and advisory has been issued. Similarly, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they have issued the guideline for treating the substance use disorder as well as the behavioral addiction. This is very, when I saw this data, I was very happy to see that yes, government is also very looking into it. Now, recommendations, what we can do ahead to control this. I say that it is a public health concern, and these are the major area where we can work, and there is a need of the comprehensive collaborative approach where the government agencies should be playing the role in policy making and all other things, and healthcare providers should have their roles. NGO can be attached with that. Community stakeholders, like if we talk about the schools and religious institutions, can play a greater role in that. And we need a consistent nationwide research to know the prevalence, risk, and protective factors. So multi-dimensional approach can help us to move ahead. Now, if I talk about one by one, public awareness and education can be done by launching the public awareness campaign, especially talking about the sign and symptoms of the behavioral addiction, consequences, and available support. And print and electronic media can be playing a great role. I see some of the Hindi news channels, especially if I talk about earlier, one Black and White is one of the show in Aaj Tak. Mr. Sudhir Chaudhary has raised this issue multiple times about the impact of the prevalence and impact of the behavioral addiction. Such initiatives need to be enhanced. Now, school-based initiatives are very much important because there we create the the personalities. We put the foundation stone there. So integration of addiction education into curriculum and doing some workshops and seminars, and these things are very much needed. As a part of our own initiative for the JSS schools, we have more than 300 institutions from primary to higher education. Our department is leading in this school mental health program, where we are about to launch the JSS MAN program, where we are tackling these issues and focusing on the behavioral addiction also. Such initiative need worldwide, across the country, by not only the government, but also the educational institutes and healthcare providers. Now, counseling and therapy. We know that there is a huge gap between the demand and the supply. In not only the mental health, in health also, in general health also it is there, but in mental health it is more huge. So we can train and certify large number of mental health professionals, including addiction counselors and therapists, and we can promote the integration of the addiction treatment, behavioral addiction treatment, in mainstream healthcare services. And we have also done an initiative in that. One screen in our hospital usually runs through the different display so that the people can get aware about what is the behavioral addiction, and that is one of the initiative we are doing here. And social support groups can also be made. This is not a task for the government, but for the community stakeholders like Alcohol Anonymous and Narcotic Anonymous. Again, we can use the telemedicine and digital health. Indian government has launched this Telemanas. I think all of us are aware about it. To include the behavioral addiction is one of the major components. We can curb the behavioral addiction across the country. And community engagement, like I talked about earlier also, the community leaders, especially if we talk about the sport icons and the people from the industry, Bollywood, can be coming forward to engage in it, to spread the awareness. Along with that, we need to have a cohesive community where the isolation and loneliness, these are the key, again, associated factor across the types of the behavioral addiction, which the worldwide researches has come out. We need to work upon this isolation and loneliness. In one hand, the individual go to the behavioral addictions to save himself from isolation and loneliness, but a vicious cycle get generated. Now, parental awareness. I found that in the researches, the fearful attachment style and poor parent-child relationship are the great predictor of the BA. And we can educate the parents about the sign and symptoms. I think the parents are not also aware about it. They say that, okay, my child is spending more time on the smartphone, or he has or she has the more screen time. Their conclusion reaches up to this limit only. They are not much aware that, oh, it's the sign of the addictive behavior. And we can help them to educate them to foster the healthy relationship and communication pattern in the family. And another thing, the government of India is about to go for the second National Mental Health Survey. And I recommend here, and I recommended in the other researches also, the BA should be the integral part of this National Mental Health Survey, because by that we can get the nationwide data and which can help us to provide to make the policy and execution of the policy to curb this problem. With this, I would like to thank to the organizers who have given us the opportunity, and thanks to the chairperson who are sharing here. And now I would go back to the chairpersons of the sessions. Back to you, sir and madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and enlightening presentation. And I really congratulate all the presenters and the entire JSS team. I think everyone has given us a very important perspective regarding behavioral addiction, especially the fact that we also came to know about the global scenario. And one of the most important challenge which I see over here, as Chitra and Trishala as well as sir was addressing, to the fact that, look at the varieties of addiction which we are now looking at. So earlier it used to be either alcohol addiction or maybe the sex addiction, but now these addictions are actually hidden under the coverage of our lifestyle. For example, shopping, for example, smartphones. And indeed, after looking and after watching such beautiful presentations, there's one query in my mind, that if I look to the background of addiction, I think psychosocial factor plays a very predominant role over here. And at the same time, I have seen that even though research is going on, and the research canvas of India has now started shedding various perspectives of addiction, but do you think that cultural sensitivity or cultural humility is also one of the domains which is being ignored, and as a result the addiction is rising? So any thoughts on that?
Dr. Manoj, sir?
Cultural, can you emphasize on the what do you mean by the cultural sensitivity, and because that will give us a idea about what you want to know.
So my only notion is that what is the start of addiction point? So I understand that it might have a neurophysiological aspect also, but some of the addiction which I see maybe are lifestyle related, or as we say that sometimes it is just in the pursuit of being successful that we are. So for example, a lot of internet surfing. So we are living in a state where FOMO is very much prevalent, that oh, if I will not be so much into online media or social media, I will be missing out something. So in a way, what is happening that, we are ignoring our own cultural backgrounds and routines. So for example, if Diwali is coming or any other Indian festival, I see electronic patakas, digital greetings. So this is just an example. And what we have started doing, we have started losing to the cultural roots. So when we have started losing to the cultural roots, of course, we have taken that aspect of the Western, or I would say the global culture, which probably doesn't belong to us. And I always say there's no harm to take any aspect of the Western culture, but the only fact is we should have a balance as to how much we have to take for them. Because if you look to the positive psychology, it has all come from India. The entire Buddhist philosophy belongs from us only. So that was my question, that do you think we are somewhere losing in our cultural aspect, and that is why we see a rise in the behavioral addiction?
Yes, that's a very nice question. Now I have the idea what you are thinking for. Actually, yes, if we just look at, we need to have the two perspective to look into it. Now, the whole globe is village, and that village we can access through our cell phone, right? In this context, if we talk about, I specifically will not give more emphasis on the socio-cultural differences, especially if we talk about Indian context, that it is leading or maybe the major causal factor behind the behavioral addiction. This is my only hypothesis, yet this is one of the area for the research. But on the other side, if we see, if we have been the collectivistic society since the beginning, and now we are also in the transition phase. Neither we are in totally Western or totally Eastern, and that is one of the big challenge for us. And because of that, and we have the different influences again. The information we get from the social media platforms and all, everything is connected. Whole world is connected to one global village. But if we again go to the back to our roots where we have been engaging, that's why I have put the role of the community stakeholders, especially the religious institutions and especially the other community stakeholders who can play a key role to enhance the protective factors. That thing what you talked about, especially during the days of the Diwali, we used to enjoy in person together. Now we are using the electronic pataka and crackers and all. But if we come back to our roots, I think that we will be enhancing the protective factors, and that will play a key role, because again, isolation and loneliness, two important correlated factors worldwide research of the behavioral addiction. So that I think would be my answer to your question, ma'am. And that was a beautiful question. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. And thank you to the entire team for enhancing our knowledge. I congratulate and wish you all the very best. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Anything, Chitra, would like to, any
Yes,
audience?
For
Any
socio-cultural, whatever ma'am highlighted now, I would like to add my view about this particular changes within what we are seeing. Usually peer pressure, accessibility of the internet worldwide in a low cost, and there's something called pseudo modernization, where the majority of the Indian youths are focusing or leaning upon. That could be one of the factors for this cause of socio-cultural behavioral addiction.
Okay. Any other question from the audience which you would like to ask to the presenters?
Here, one of the audience, they come up with a question like, usually the shopping addiction, sometimes they use it as a therapeutic mean. And how can we, plot this shopping as a type of behavioral addiction?
What was the question?
The question was shopping addiction. Usually shopping addiction, they consider it as a therapeutic means.
Yeah.
Okay. But to far my limited knowledge, I would say that we don't use it as a therapeutic method. So far I understand, because it says that all the, if we talk about it in terms of the addiction, it shares all the core features of the addictive behaviors, especially given by the Griffith, who is working a lot in the area of the behavioral addiction. And impulsivity is also one of the things. Individuals' preoccupation with the shopping is also one of the things. And I think shopping is one component of that, rather than a treatment method. In spite of that, what the research has found, if we engage the individuals into the behavioral activities, social gatherings, and these simple common strategies, it helps to curb the behavioral addictions. That is my answer to the questions raised by the audience. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And adding on to that, sir, I think we need to consider dysfunctional coping. That is the main thing that is going to contribute for all the addictions. Rather than focusing on the dysfunctional coping, we can focus on the problematic coping. That is where we can focus on the problems rather than escaping from the problems.
Okay, okay. So I would like to reflect for a few minutes. Very nice presentations by all of you, as Madam has already highlighted, Dr. Akansha ma'am, Shrivastava ma'am, that different things about behavior addictions has been said. So there has been a concept known as positive addiction, which was given by William Glaser, and he wrote a book in 1965. And when he say positive addiction, it actually means positive behaviors which can enhance well-being, like for example, gymming, exercising, meditation. So what we need to reflect how we can convert behaviors which are dysfunctional and has becoming a source of discomfort and turning into psychopathology. We need to work ourselves. We need to train populations so that they can be trained in what is known as positive addiction. It's very, very important. Another thing is something we need to reflect that, as Madam was saying, roots. I always think as a scientist that I wrote a paper recently that Vasudevam Kutumbakam. The basic idea of this is the whole earth is like a family. Even the whole, I mean, everyone is a family. Even plants belong to our family. Animals are family members. But, okay, the construct is excellent, but India stands at 137 or 136 in happiness index. This is also a question that we need to ask to ourselves, number one. Number two, we have very strong constructs in our society known as Bhandara. I was in a Bhandara last week. We have a very strong langar. We have a very strong construct in Muslims. I myself is a Muslim, Roza, Zakat. Why? And the research has shown that people who engage themselves in Bhandara or helping others are more happy. Their well-being is better. But still, why we are lacking in that? This is a question which is very, very important. Third point is, that Rosa, fasting, we have Navratra, we have fasting Ramadan, and fasting teaches us to hold our impulses. Abhi nahi khana hai. I was in a meeting, there was an exam going on, and my colleague said to me, "Sir, I won't take salt. Mera roza chal raha hai. Mera roza rakha hua hai. Salt नहीं खा सकते, roti नहीं खा सकते. I can eat salad, I can eat fruits." So all these things I have been thinking for last 10 or 20 years. Why these constructs, when we have these constructs, is still why positive mental health is emerging in our country. Okay, why, a very excellent research and experiment was done by Walter Mischel. He showed, chocolates and ask the child not to eat the chocolate, hold on the impulses, and if they hold on the impulses, they will get a better reward. And that is what the same thing fasting does. If you do these behaviors, if you hold on your impulses, God will give you a better world, or you may born in a better form. So why these constructs which are present in our country, in our culture, as we keep seeing, as I keep hearing, why these constructs are not actually acting on us? Why still we lack, happiness? Our happiness index is very poor. Gratitude is there. Why our well-being is so poor? These are the things that we need to think as scientists. These are the things we need to think as clinicians. Where are we lacking? We need to reflect, and based on these constructs, we need to find out solutions which are already embedded in our culture. So idea has to be promotion of mental health using the constructs, then adding something, the contemporary models of clinical psychology or psychology that we have been using. I think this is the idea we all have to start working on, how to use the cultural constructs for the promotion of well-being. This is what I thought I should reflect upon and share it with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's a great view, sir. I
Thank
think
you,
that I am a great supporter of our non-indigenous, components. And I request you to go ahead a collaborative research in this area. And I have some framework, a model of the treatment approaches based upon the indigenous concepts that we will discuss later on. And literally, that is one of the great thought to explore. If such is the great, we have the legacy of, these all the things what you discussed. Still, why the happiness index is low? That need to be, because somewhere again, if you're talking about the happiness index is low, obviously the other side, the addictive behavior as a part of the psychiatric other comorbidity in may be increasing. I do have some other approaches to think upon it, but this is not the right platform to discuss about it. And we can go ahead, sir, with this particular research approach.
Yeah,
And, yeah, sure, sir, sure.
Just was 30 seconds I would like. I was in a Dashera, and I said that Ravan we all have. We have to kill our inner Ravan, and that we call id. In Quran, it is known as nafse lawama or ammara, I forgot. So you have to kill your inner Ravan. हम रावण अपने अंदर के रावण को क्यों नहीं जलाते? Which help us, which actually motivates us to do selfishness, all sort of bizarre behaviors, cheating, and that is actually, if we do that, I'm very sure India can become a Vishwa Guru for the whole world. That
Yes.
we need to start working on.
True, sir. Great thought.
Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank and give my heartfelt congratulations and thanks to all the speakers as well as our chairperson, Dr. Nadine Kirmani and Dr. Akansha Srivastava. It was a really great discussion that we had, and thank you so much for giving us so many takeaways and so many points to think and reflect back on. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We will
Thank
now
you.
be moving on to the next lecture for the day. Is the screen visible? So I would like to begin by introducing the lecture for today. The topic is Conceptualization of AI in Mass Media by Dr. Gagan Prakash. Before we begin, I would like to introduce our speaker, Dr. Gagan Prakash. He is the director of Symbiosis School of Photography under the Faculty of Media and Communication of Symbiosis International Deemed University, Pune. He's an expert in photography, cinematography, and documentary filmmaking, dedicated to nurturing creativity and excellence in visual arts. He has been in academics for the last 10 years in the areas of photography, cinematography, and visual communication, and believes in fostering an environment that empowers aspiring artists to excel. He has produced 3 compelling documentaries shedding light on thought-provoking subjects. His research interests are in the area of visual media ethics, identity, media and education, and media and spirituality. He has authored a book on visual communication, written several book chapters, and has published his research work in reputed journals. It is truly an honor to have you here, sir. I would now request sir to please address the session.
Thank you very much. In fact, am I audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Suddenly my intro seemed like somebody else's. So thank you very much for that. And I welcome all of you. I'll just share my screen to start with. And then just give me a minute if you don't mind. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just a sec. Let me just check whether it's working. All right. Do you see the PDF that is there, which talks about
Yes,
the? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And I'm really sorry for taking a little long. So I welcome all of you, of course. And she spoke about what I do. So as said, I work with Symbiosis School of Visual Arts and Photography, and I'm also a student of AI. In fact, AI is of course a topic which is evolving every day. Now, before me, there was a presentation on addiction, and there were many points which were discussed. I also am interested in spirituality, and I was listening to one of the professors who spoke about Rosa and the value of Rosa. Um, you know, I remember one instance where I was standing in front of Mazar, and I was just it was Rosa days. So I happened to meet one old man selling something. So he asked me, "What are you standing there for?" So I just said I was just intrigued, looking at everybody so passionately, getting inside, praying, and then coming out. These are good days. And so he said, "Do you know what's going on?" I was like, "Yeah, this is Rosa days. Ramzan is going on." So so he asked me, "What is Rosa?" And I was like, "Okay, I don't know." The typical answer I would have is fasting. But then he told me that Rosa is beyond fasting. He said it's basically control on things. Those are devils inside you. Panch talwar, as he called it. So he said there are these five talwars that we all are standing on. So the devils inside us. So demons, in fact. So I just recollected that moment when one of the professors were talking about. I'm really sorry, I didn't focus on the name that time, but yeah. So pretty interesting, space to angle to look at addiction. Of course, how culture and other elements play a role. But here I'm talking about conceptualization of AI, which is artificial intelligence in mass communication. And I'll be talking about, the role of AI and the other elements of of AI in mass communication. Rather, I'm going to talk about mass media. Now, as John Doe says, that AI is not just a tool; it's a fundamental shift in the media industry. There are various points that I'll be discussing this topic about. So, of course, here I'll be talking about AI and its position in the media landscape. I'll be talking about AI in advertising. I'll be talking about the role of AI in mass communication, touching on some various points in that, like data-driven journalism and AI insights, personalization and audience engagement, how AI connect, with our recommendations, what we search, and then discovery of content. It automates content moderation and filtration, the content translation and multilingual capabilities of AI, content curation and automation. Of course, I'm going to be touching AI's impact on content creation, which is a huge space where AI is being used. I'm also going to be talking about the future of mass communication through the lens, or how you look at AI, from the lens of AI. So these are the key points that I'll be touching on. And of course, talking about, AI and its position in the media landscape. Of course, AI is not just a tool, as John Doe says. It's a fundamental shift in the media industry. AI, or artificial intelligence as we call it, encompasses the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, particularly computer systems, as we all know. It rapidly, has established a significant presence in the media landscape, transforming the way information is created, distributed, and consumed. As algorithms have become more sophisticated, so as AI's role in the media continues to evolve, impacting journalism, entertainment, and advertising specifically. James Johnson says that AI's integration in the media landscape signifies a fundamental shift in the industry's operation dynamics, compelling a review of traditional practices which are there in the media. As far as role of AI in the media, in the mass communication, the media mass communication space, there are various points that I would like to touch about. But firstly, Jane Smith says that AI-driven chatbots, as we all know, have transformed the way we communicate with our audience, providing insight, responses, and improvising user experience. AI plays a central role in mass media communication by enhancing content creation, personalization, and dissemination of information. It empowers media organizations to analyze vast database. It identifies trends, engages audience on a personalized level. Like all of us are aware of how YouTube ads and Google ads work. The utilization of AI-driven chatbots, and virtual assistants like Google Assistants and others is increasingly common in customer interaction. AI-driven communication technologies are redefining audience engagement, I feel, enabling hyper-personalization that enhances user experience and loyalty. If you look at data-driven journalism and AI insights, it seems that AI empowers journalism or journalists, in fact, to uncover stories which are probably, depending on data. So bringing depth and accuracy to their reporting through data mining and capturing data. Of course, it facilitates data-driven journalism by shifting through various amount of data to uncover trends and insights that human journalists might sometimes miss. It can assist in investigating reports, of course, providing journalists with valuable leads and patterns within the databases, I'm saying, not beyond that, of course. However, of course, we need to understand that hardcore reporting, which is based on human understanding interactions, cannot be based on AI. Now, as far as personalization and audience engagement is concerned, AI enables hyper-personalized content delivery, where media outlets can analyze user behavior, preferences, historical data to deliver content tailored to each individual. Personalization not only, increases audience engagement, but also drives through, targeted advertising, as we have seen. Content recommendation and discovery is another space. AI-driven recommendation systems are the backbone of content discovery platforms like Netflix, YouTube, Google. They keep users engaged by suggesting content based on their viewers' history. As we all know, sometimes we find it very, very problematic where, you have said a few things or you have searched one, let's say a type of a film that you want to watch, and then you get the list of songs in the films and other media content that is based on your one-time research, which basically talks about your preferences, behavior, increasing users' retention and satisfaction. There are, of course, problematic problems with it. Of course, we all know. But automated content moderation and filtration is another space where AI plays a big and critical role in content moderation by automatically identifying and filtering out inappropriate and harmful content. Of course, this could be used especially for the content that is used for or consumed rather by the kids. We have seen YouTube Kids, which is a great example of that. This is crucial for maintaining the quality and safety of online platforms and social media. Of course, we have seen various cases and discussions, in the past 5-6 years, whether it was Meta, which is Facebook and other platforms, or it was Twitter, where both the companies were in trouble and in courts on the issues of safety. Content translation and multilingual capabilities of AI is a huge plus, where translation tools such as Google Translate and many more have made content accessible to global audience. These tools aid in breaking language barrier, as we all know, expanding the reach of media content beyond limits. AI-driven translation tools are bridge to global audience, I feel. Opening up new markets, cross-cultural communication and also enhancing media globalization, as we have seen. As far as curation and automation is concerned, AI-driven content improves efficiency, making it easier for media organizations to manage their vast libraries of content. I feel when you talk about, let's say creation in graphics also, with the help of AI, you can actually very precisely look for, categorization or tagging and organizing media content. So as far as AI's role in advertising, though it's a topic of media management and creativity, and I'm going to touch about creativity later. But very briefly, I'll talk about AI's role in advertising. We all have seen this. In fact, the use of AI in ad placements. Specifically, I'm talking about ad placements here. Over last half a decade, we have seen that in advertising, AI has become an indispensable tool. We have seen these advertising powered by AI algorithms, which automates the placement of ads, ensuring they reach the right audience at the right time. Like Google Ads and YouTube Ads, which basically runs on your preferences, your history, your search, your whatever search keywords that you type, and then it remembers that and works on the algorithm, gives you that information and ads. So of course, I was watching one of the YouTube videos on, let's say, basically it was an interaction, a celebrity and the host. Now, wherever the keywords of the host came in, the next ad was on that. That is the power of the what do you call the role of AI in advertising. So as far as creativity is concerned, here we have seen that AI's impact on creativity has gone beyond our imagination. AI has become a powerful collaborator, in fact, not just a tool in content creation across various media platforms. AI can assist, of course, in generating text, as we all know, in audio format, in the visual, both video and the graphics format. Talking about AI in journalism, automated journalism, we have seen that AI algorithms can produce news articles and reports, especially which are based on data and some routine topics as well. Of course, it doesn't mean that investigative stories and more complex stories where there is more human communication needed, that cannot be what do you call, in a way, substituted. For example, ChatGPT and Bard, Grammarly are a few examples of how textual data can be transformed and automated. We have seen AI's role in music composition with the help of AI platforms like Magenta or Amper or Brain.fm. We've seen that AI-driven algorithms can compose music, not just plays music. It can actually generate original compositions, sometimes assist musicians in creating these melodies and harmonies. We have also seen that in video production and video editing. The tools like Veed.io, Synthesia, and many more have actually have these AI-powered video editing tools that can automate video creation, stitching footage together, adding effects, and even generating animation and backgrounds. In the space of graphics, AI has been a major help to all the graphic artists, where we have seen in the art world, to create paintings, sculptures, and beyond. We've seen that artists can actually collaborate with AI platforms or with AI to explore new dimensions of creativity. Canva is a good example of that. We all have been using Canva for last 5 years now, and Midjourney is another good example of that. AI's involvement in content creation is like a game changer, I feel, automating repetitive tasks and expanding the boundaries of creativity. It's a very valuable tool for both efficiency and innovation. When you look at future, in fact, of AI in mass communication, that's where we have to talk about how and where is it going. So while AI offers immense promise, it also possesses a lot of challenges to mass media. Of course, in the space of content creation, there is a fear of AI impacting the jobs, misinformation, deepfake content, algorithm biases are also growing concerns. Of course, the need of ethical AI guidelines, content verification tools, and transparency in AI-driven decisions are becoming very, very crucial. Emily Rogers says that AI potential to harm underscores the urgency of responsible development and usage in media. In fact, what I feel is that it is the right time for major economies to stand together as one to discuss AI and make rules for AI, specifically talking about its ethical boundaries, because it can actually lead to AI, and the usage of AI can actually lead to greater harms than just information or misinformation. It can lead to wars, like, which are depending on data. So the future of mass communication through the AI lens, if you say, which is predicting analytics, will basically help media organization anticipate media audience preferences. Definitely, we have seen that with AI generated deepfake content presents new ethical and security challenges. Of course, the use of AI in storytelling, virtual reality, and augmented reality will definitely redefine how we consume media. We have been seeing the use of augmented reality for past 10 years, in fact, almost now. So AI stands at a forefront of media transformation, which gives us exciting new possibilities, which calls for media adaptation to a shifting landscape. I would say that, to conclude, that in the conceptualization of AI in mass media is not just a technological evolution, but a transformative shift that is reshaping the way we communicate, we advertise, and we create content. The future holds exciting opportunities for sure. It of course gives us a lot of challenges to start with. It is essential that we navigate these AI tools and AI-driven landscape with responsibility, ethics, and commitment to quality content generation and handling. Of course, my here suggestions are, of course, that major economies stand together to discuss AI rules and to create this structural regulations to use in the use of AI. Otherwise, it will lead to major problems, as we have started to see. So thank you very much for your attention, of course, and yeah, we can discuss if there are any points. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would request participants, if they have any questions, to please put them in the chat box so that sir can address them. So we have a question in the chat box from
Okay.
Dr. Manoj Pandey,
Okay,
which is, how can AI help in curbing the behavioral addiction in India?
All right. If Dr. Pandey is there, of course, we can discuss that. But I feel is that AI, when you talk about AI is actually AI is a contributing tool which is basically based on our preferences, on our behavior, on our behavioral pattern. Now, there are these tools which can actually understand the behavioral pattern that we have. So if we are feeding that, our basically, which is based on our reputation, the way we consume data, if we feed that information, we can get some kind of a recommendation. Nothing more than recommendation that I can see right now. It's more like a prescription by a doctor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, yes. That is also one of the area. I think the researcher from the interdisciplinary, the mental health professionals as well as the individual from the engineering background to work upon to come with some trackers so that even the recommendations are very much important for educational purposes also. Thank you for your response.
No,
Sir.
actually, because AI purely depends on the existing data and existing patterns. That's why a new, if we are expecting a new creative, transformative, answer, that will be difficult, because it is primarily depending on how we have been consuming, how we have been, our preferences and so on. So that's where the challenge is, I feel. Miss Prachi is basically asking whether, there's always a debate about how AI will take over various jobs, and what's going to happen to that. Yes, we have been discussing this, Prachi. So, like, I would say AI is not a new thing. AI has been there for last 10 years almost, and maybe more than that. Of course, it came with technology in how, like, for example, there are these cameras which suggested the white balance that can be used for the existing scene that we are shooting. I'm just giving a very technical example here. Now, that came in the form of a function that a camera can have. Similarly, we started getting various AI suggestions and tools, the way we can generate content. I do not think it'll take our jobs. However, we have to start taking control of the AI and start using AI in our content creation and dissemination of content. So I don't think it's gonna take the jobs. We felt that that's gonna happen with the technology change that happened in the when new digital cameras came in. A lot of photographers and a lot of cinematographers were scared that they will lose out on jobs. In fact, today anybody can shoot and become a filmmaker or a photographer, but that actually made these expert or high skilled technical photographers and cinematographers to work more, and they have the jobs. I mean, I don't think it'll take our jobs.
Thank you, sir, for all those insights. And I think, as you've correctly said, there are benefits and also disadvantages of everything that is there, that exists in the world. And yes, although we have a lot of questions about AI, it is also something that can be used as a boon or a bane, depending on how we plan to take it forward. So thank you so much, sir, for giving us such wonderful insights, and for thanks to the audience for asking such questions. We will now be moving on to the next session. And before that, sir, I would like to thank you from the behalf of IMHRC for being there on this session and for giving us such wonderful insights. Thank you, sir.
Oh,
it
thank
was
you
an
very
honor
much.
to have
Thank you very much. In fact, the most scariest thing here is that, of course, there are advantages that we have discussed and seen, but the scariest thing could be the information leak and the how there are these agencies which can take disadvantage. Basically, they can take advantage of AI, and that can lead to wars. So that is very dangerous. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, actually. Thank you very much.
So we hope that people have the insight and they will not use it to harm us and continue to use it to make the world a better place.
You can
Thank
only
you
hope.
so
Yeah,
much,
of
sir.
course. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Sirima. Let us now move on to the next session. We have among us Professor Beatrice Dornbach. She will be delivering her lecture on From Local to Global Community Initiatives Impacting Societal Development. A little bit about mine. Professor Beatrice Dornbach has been the holder has been the holder of the Research Professorship of Sustainability and Science Communication since October 2021 at Technische Hochschule Nürnberg. Since March 2014, she has been a professor of practice of journalism. From the period of October 1999 to February 2014, she taught and pursued research in the field of journalism, media, and communication at the University of Applied Sciences, Bremen. There are various publications in her name on specialized journalism, journalism education, the relation between journalism and public relations, journalism and sustainability, and science communication. Prior to beginning her career in academia, she was working as an editorial journalist. It is truly an honor to have such a distinguished professional among us. I would now like to request ma'am to address the session.
Thank you very much for inviting me and for this introduction. It's a pleasure and an honor also for me. And I'm connected more than 20 years with the MAHE, so Manipal Academy of Higher Education. And since 3 months, I'm now there, a PhD co-supervisor. So I'm very deep in touch with India. And thank you to Gagan Prakash for this very inspiring talk. So hopefully we get in touch to each other. Because time is running, so I would like you to share my video because I produced it last night for technical reasons. So maybe the connection will be not as good as we would like to. So please share my video. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Just give us a moment, please. Ma'am, allow us for 2 minutes. Please, our technical team is working on getting your video.
No, so I will share. So that's not a problem for me. I've got it. So I try to. So do I have the right to share? Yes, here we are. So yeah, here we are.
Ma'am, the screen is visible. You may proceed ahead, ma'am.
No, you don't hear my voice?
No, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, so I will share the presentation and try to hold it now live. So I'm not prepared for that, but I will start again, but only the video. And so let's wait for a minute. Or can you share now the video?
From our end, ma'am.
Sorry?
Would you like us to share your PPT, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, just hold on one moment, ma'am.
Sorry for that. I thought it would be the better way to produce a video.
Ma'am, extremely sorry for the delay. Just give us 2 more minutes. We're arranging the video right now.
So does it work? Otherwise, I will show my presentation. And because we are running out of time a little bit, I will do it on myself. Chapter, I will tell some. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, presentation is right now.
For this invitation.
My suggestion is
An honor and also a pleasure for me to give
video
a talk on your very inspiring conference.
I would please stop the video because we are running out of time, and so I will do it on myself. I will share now in my presentation, and like to talk to you to the topic from local to local community initiatives impacting societal development. Sorry, please stop the video.
We first show
I will share now my presentation, so please stop sharing this video because it's much too long now. Okay, thank you. So I'm now going to this one. We stopped here. You see it. And can you now hear me? Please give me a short signal that you now can hear me.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, so thank you very much for your patience. So the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and you all know them, and I think also number 3, good health and well-being. That's also an important goal. So let's have a look at one challenge, the urbanization, because in the next few years, the world's population will live in cities, and 2050 it will be 80%, and 23 of the world's 27 megacities are located in developing countries, 12 of them in Asia, and you can see here New Delhi and also Mumbai, two of all these megacities. And it's very attractive for people to live in megacities because there are some pull factors that are economic and social. So better jobs promise higher income and higher social status, increased wealth and higher living standard. And on the other hand, we have huge problems in all these megacities, starting with energy and waste and so on. And in